If you were reborn, would you still marry your wife? This man had somehow regressed from his 30s back to his college days. He should have been thrilled, but what he never expected was that his wife from his previous life had regressed right alongside him. In their past life, she had been arrogant and self-destructive, looking down on him for being a stay-at-home husband and refusing to have his kids, ultimately demanding a divorce. Yet only a few years after the split, his web novels blew up and his net worth skyrocketed by tens of millions. From then on, he gave up on true love. Backed by his wealth, he practically swapped young girlfriends every week. But his ex-wife, Su Qing, would crash the party and ruin things every single time. By then, she was eaten alive by regret. She had begged to remarry him countless times, promising to give him as many babies as he wanted. But why would he give up his carefree, pleasure-filled bachelor life, just to jump back into the grave of marriage? Even his current young flame mocked Su Qing as an old hag. "My sugar daddy prefers younger women." Got it? That line completely set Su Qing off. She lunged at the young girl, screaming at her for being a shameless homewrecker. The two instantly broke into a full-blown street brawl, pulling hair, tearing at clothes, and shoving each other over the sidewalk. Su Qing lost her footing and stumbled backward, right into the path of a speeding heavy truck. In that split-second life-or-death moment, instinct took over and he lunged toward her. He tried to yank her back, but he was a second too late. Cursing inwardly that he must have owed her in a past life, the two of them were sent flying by truck Dashko. As his consciousness faded, he muttered his final words. If only life could start over. When he opened his eyes again, an impossibly beautiful face was inches from his own. He recognized her instantly that it was Zheng Yinyan, Su Qing's best friend. But something was seriously wrong. Why did she look so incredibly young? And wait, hadn't he just died? What was going on? Why was he sitting on an old-school green train? Catching his reflection in the window, he stared back at his 19-year-old self. Feeling the raw vigor of this youthful body, shock washed over him. Had he actually been reborn? Zheng Yinyan had just wanted him to help with her luggage, but seeing him staring at her blankly, she lost her temper and snapped. "Zhou Yuan, have you stared enough?" Jolted back to reality by her shout, Zhou Yuan quickly scratched his head. "Sorry, I'll grab your bags right now." Just then, the train pulled into the station with a lurch. Without anything to hold on to, Zheng Yinyan lost her balance and pitched straight forward. She crashed right into him, sending them both tumbling to the floor. His back slammed painfully against the ground. His front was met with a sensation that was soft, warm, and full of bounce. He had to admit, Zheng Yinyan was extremely well-developed, and the angle of this accident was almost too perfect. The intimate contact embarrassed her so deeply that she let out a yelp and scrambled off him. Zhou Yuan pulled her luggage down and handed it over, leaving the two of them in a suffocatingly awkward silence. As they stepped off the train, she shot him a vicious glare, warning him, "If you dare breathe a word about this, you're dead meat." As the dusty memories flooded his mind, Zhou Yuan realized that Zheng Yinyan was just as lively and adorable as she had always been. When he arrived at the gate of Jinling University, it happened to be the very first day of enrollment. Since heaven had given him a second shot at life, Zhou Yuan was determined to build something huge and rise all over again in this life. At the same time, in another room, Su Qing suddenly jolted awake from her sleep as well. This was the room she had lived in when she was younger. The moment she noticed her fair skin, smooth and full of youthful collagen, she froze. Instinctively, she sprang up and rushed toward the mirror. And when she saw that the person in the mirror looked exactly like her college-age self, Su Qing was completely dumbfounded. Just like Zhou Yuan, she too had apparently been given another chance by fate. It was the first day of school, and not long after entering campus, Zhou Yuan was warmly stopped by an upperclassman who asked with a smile if he was there to register. He vaguely remembered this girl. Her name seemed to be Chenwan. She used the excuse of helping freshmen carry luggage and show them around, but in reality, she was selling campus phone plans. Zhou Yuan lowered his gaze slightly and immediately noticed the mole on her collarbone. That was the exact mole that had tricked him into signing up for 3 SIM cards in his previous life. This time, already fully aware of their tricks, Zhou Yuan snatched the flyers from her hand and said right away, "Senior, your sales pitch is way too outdated." Since he was tall and handsome, Chenwan was caught off guard by the move. She had rarely seen such an aggressive junior. Then Zhou Yuan suddenly came up with a clever money-making idea and immediately started sweet-talking her. "What a shame. I'm actually a local. But since you're this pretty, Senior, why not just hand all the flyers to me? I'll help you promote them for free, and all the commission can still go to you. How about it?" Faced with such a deal falling from the sky, Chunwan naturally had no reason to refuse. She immediately handed over the thick stack of remaining flyers and thanked him, saying he was such a good person. She even reminded him not to slack off, adding, "If you sell well, I'll treat you to a meal." Honestly, Chunwan really knew how to work a man's mind. In his previous life, Zhou Yuan had fallen for that exact warmth and enthusiasm. After finding his familiar dorm with practiced ease, he could already hear his roommates making a racket inside. The moment he pushed the door open, the first person he saw was Chong Hao, who was busy complaining non-stop about everything around him. Since Zhou Yuan was the last one to arrive, Chong Hao immediately came over and greeted him enthusiastically. "I saw the dorm list earlier that you're Zhou Yuan, right? Man, we've been waiting for you. Now our dorm is finally complete." The moment he heard Zhou Yuan was also from Xuhuai, Chong Hao's eyes lit up at once, and he blurted out that this was way too perfect. He immediately said he had just arranged a card game in the group with a few pretty girls, and one of them was named Zheng Yinyin. Apparently, her roommate was from Xuhuai too. As he spoke, he warmly invited Zhou Yuan to come along that night and meet them, but Zhou Yuan said he had something to do later and couldn't make it. The secondly Chong heard there were girls involved, he instantly got excited and threw an arm around Chong Hao. "If Zhou Yuan's not going, bro Hao, I'll go with you." From the photos, this Zheng Yinyin is seriously fine. After confirming several times that Zhou Yuan really wasn't going, Chong Hao could only shrug and say that he'd take Li Chong instead, and when he was out having a romantic evening with the girls, Zhou Yuan better not regret it. But as someone who had been reborn, Zhou Yuan knew very clearly that this was the very night he had met Su Qing in his previous life. So sorry. But in this life, he truly had no time for that. Love and romance were absolute bullshit. Making money was king. Posing as a senior, he started running all over campus, specifically targeting the fresh-faced, incoming college girls. After all, he had the mind of a seasoned 30-year-old man, so smooth-talking these inexperienced girls was practically effortless. On top of that, he was good-looking and knew the campus layout like the back of his hand. Answering their questions and showing them around was a walk in the park. Once the moment felt right, he smoothly pivoted into his sales pitch for campus SIM cards. Generous data, cheap rates, and only $150 a month. Since a lot of freshmen arrived with out-of-town numbers that were a hassle to use locally in Jinling, getting a campus card was practically a necessity. Coupled with his warm and helpful guidance, most of the girls agreed to sign up through him, allowing him to easily rake in the commission as an agent. As he walked, he bumped into another familiar face. She just happened to be asking him, "Excuse me, senior, which way is dorm 9? This exquisitely pretty girl was named Shunyu, and she had come to register with her mother today. Coincidentally, the two freshmen he was already guiding were headed to the same building, so he simply brought them all along, keeping the conversation lively along the way. Shinyu's mother looked over his flyer and murmured to her daughter, "This campus plan is actually a pretty good deal. Should we get one?" Zhou Yuan immediately chimed in. "You have a great eye, ma'am. If you want one, you can add my QQ to register now, and we'll process it tomorrow that if she runs into any problems at school later, she can always come find me." Perhaps won over by his mature and steady demeanor, the mother immediately pulled out her daughter's phone to add him, saying that with Xiaoyu living on campus from now on, she hoped he could look out for her. When they reached the dorm entrance, he casually blurted out, "Room 503, right?" Xinyu instantly looked confused and asked how he knew her dorm number. After all, Su Qing also lived in 503, and in his past life, he had visited that room more times than he could count. Realizing he had let something slip, he bit the bullet and bluffed. "Didn't your mom mention it just now?" He barely managed to dodge the bullet. But upon further thought, he realized this way of making money was still way too slow, that he needed to change his approach. With that in mind, he immediately dropped a message in his class group chat, pretending he had a relative working at the telecommunications office. Not only could they get a massive discount, but the monthly fee would drop to just $130. As long as he gathered enough customers, he could negotiate a first-tier agency deal with the office, netting up to $80 a pop. So, his first target was his high school buddy, Lu Shot. He offered him $20 per recruit, while pocketing the rest of the cut for himself. In just one afternoon, he had successfully developed several downlines. He had even blacked out Senior Chun Wan's contact info on the flyers and swapped it with his own number. Time flew by, and Lu Shua soon reported back with great news. His social network was wider than expected, and he had actually roped in quite a few interested freshmen. Tempted by the profits, even Li Shiqi, the top student from their high school days, was coaxed into joining his little enterprise. He still remembered how, just a few years after graduation in his previous life, Li Shiqi had leveraged her stellar grades and flawless image to become the most beautiful diplomat, while he could only look up to her on a TV screen. They had barely spoken back then, Yet in this life, they were suddenly tied together by a simple campus SIM card. This was the most promising person in his entire graduating class. Thinking of this, he immediately upped the stakes. Anyone who pulls in more than 30 people gets their commission bumped straight up to a $30 cut per card. The moment Li Shiqi heard that, literal stars practically popped into her eyes. She excitedly declared she was going hunting for recruits right away and would send him the roster later. The two shook hands to seal the deal. In his mind, he smirked, realizing he might have just hooked a massive fish. It seemed life this time around was only going to get more interesting. Meanwhile, in room 503 of the girls' dorm, Su Qing was dialing his number over and over again, only to be met with the automated out-of-service prompt every single time, just as she was drowning in confusion, knowing full well she hadn't remembered the number wrong. Zheng Yinyan turned to her and asked, "I'm meeting some friends at the cafeteria later to play cards. Want to come?" Knowing exactly that this was the night she met Zhou Yuan in her past life, Su Qing nodded without hesitation. Sure. Her surprisingly quick answer caught Zheng Yinyan off guard. She thought to herself, this girl looks icy on the outside, but she's surprisingly fiery on the inside. She was finally about to see her future husband again. So Su Qing hurried to put on makeup that in this life, she was determined to hold on tight to Zhou Yuan and never ruin things again. Seeing how shy and excited she looked, Zheng Yinyan instantly started gossiping, asking whether the person they were meeting this time was her boyfriend. Su Qing's cheeks flushed red as she recalled the moment they had been hit by the truck and died in each other's arms. Her answer came out firm and clear, not my boyfriend, my future husband. In this life, no matter what happened, she was never letting him go again. That was why she had come early with Zheng Yinyan and was already waiting in the cafeteria. Suddenly, a boy walked over and asked, "Are you Zheng Yinyan?" The moment she heard his voice, Su Qing shot to her feet and instantly started searching the crowd for Zhou Yuan. In her mind, the husband cultivation project was about to begin right now. Unfortunately, things went off script. The one who was supposed to show up, Zhou Yuan, never came. Instead, it was that big idiot Li Chong who appeared. Su Qing froze on the spot. Could this really be the butterfly effect caused by her rebirth? And when she thought back to the dead phone number from earlier, the unease in her chest only grew stronger. After asking around, she learned that Chong Hao really had planned to invite Zhou Yuan, but he had something come up at the last minute and couldn't make it. Standing nearby, Li Chong secretly grumbled to himself. What kind of dumb luck does Zhou Yuan have to have such a beautiful girl already thinking about him right after school started? Once she realized her future husband hadn't come, Su Qing was naturally disappointed, but she didn't let it show too much. For now, she figured it was better to blend into this circle first. Meanwhile, on the other side, Zhou Yuan had already gathered enough customers for SIM cards and headed to the service hall, fully prepared to negotiate a serious deal. A young female clerk welcomed him warmly and asked with a smile what kind of service he needed. But the moment Zhou Yuan opened his mouth, he asked to see the manager directly and said, "I want to discuss an agent deal." Once the staff realized this young man was here to talk business, they naturally didn't dare treat him casually and immediately led him inside. Seeing someone so young carrying himself with that much presence, even the employee escorting him couldn't help but look at him differently. Once inside the office, he found that the manager was an elegant older woman who still had plenty of charm. Seeing that the visitor was just a young guy, she had originally planned to pressure him a little first. But to her surprise, Zhou Yuan didn't look nervous in the slightest. He calmly handed over the list he had prepared in advance, showing more than 200 freshmen who had clearly expressed interest in getting SIM cards. When a manager opened it and saw the scale of it, she was secretly shocked. Then she looked up and asked how much kickback he wanted. Zhou Yuan didn't waste time going in circles. He said it plainly. On the 150 campus package, the highest rebate is 70, and asking for 80 isn't excessive at all considering the volume I'm bringing. The manager made the decision almost on the spot and agreed immediately. But before she could even finish speaking, Zhou Yuan added another condition. I don't need that much commission, but I want the highest campus agent authority plus an additional 30% share of the profit. Seeing how confident he looked, the manager leaned in a little and said, half teasingly, "Kid, you've got quite the appetite. What? Do you already know where my bottom line is?" Fortunately, Zhou Yuan had specifically studied the campus SIM card game in his previous life that he simply smiled and replied, "You can't fool me. My family used to work in this business." He then laid out every profit point one by one. And after hearing it all, the manager completely gave up on trying to push the price down and could only agree to cooperate with him. When it came time to sign the contract, the manager looked at this young man in front of her and couldn't help thinking that the depth of his scheming felt nothing like an 18-year-old. It was honestly bizarre. At the same time, in the school cafeteria, Zhang Yinyin and the others were deep into their card game, but Su Qing was distracted the entire time, dragging down everyone on her team. Li Chong was clearly getting annoyed because her mind wasn't on the game at all. Since Zhou Yuan was still all she could think about, Su Qing finally stood up and said, "You guys keep playing while I go to the restroom." Still unwilling to give up, she dialed Zhou Yuan's number once again. In her previous life, she clearly remembered that Zhou Yuan had always used this exact number, so all she could do now was pray that the call would go through this time. Meanwhile, Zhou Yuan was walking out of the service hall in a great mood. Not only had he secured the highest tier agent contract, he had also taken the chance to get himself an iPhone 5 on contract. What he didn't expect was that the brand new SIM card had barely been activated before a call came in. The number looked strangely familiar, but he didn't think much of it. He picked up and casually asked, "Who is this?" After a brief pause, Su Qing's incredibly familiar voice suddenly came through the line. "Zhou Yuan, you have to write novels. If you write, you'll definitely blow up." The instant he heard that, Zhou Yuan sucked in a sharp breath. Without hesitating even for a second, he hung up immediately. It was obvious now that Su Qing had been reborn too, that a storm crashed through Zhou Yuan's mind, and he couldn't help cursing the heavens. What kind of rebirth came with a buy one get one free package? After thinking it through carefully, he made up his mind on the spot that, and no matter what happened, he absolutely could not let Su Qing find out that he was also a reborn person. Otherwise, forget all his future plans. His entire Playboy strategy would be dead on arrival. On the other side, Su Qing had originally wanted to say more, but all she heard was the disconnected tone after the call was cut off. She stared at her phone in confusion, unable to understand why Zhou Yuan had hung up on her so suddenly. But after a moment, realization hit her, and she awkwardly smacked her forehead. Right now, Zhou Yuan was only 19. He didn't know her at all, that of course, he would hang up if she suddenly started saying bizarre things like that. But the more she thought about it, the more she felt that maybe this wasn't such a bad thing. The current Zhou Yuan was basically a blank sheet of paper. However she wanted to shape him, however she wanted to guide him, it would all be up to her. Just a little earlier, Su Qing, Zhang Yinyin, and the others had finished playing cards and started walking back toward the dorms together. On the way, Su Qing suddenly realized that if they made a stop by the boys' dorm, there was a chance she might run into Zhou Yuan. On impulse, she suggested walking Chong, Hao, and Li Chong back, instantly leaving both guys stunned. Only Zhang Yinyin vaguely sensed that Su Qing was probably doing all of this for Zhou Yuan. Chong Hao, meanwhile, slowly caught on and couldn't help sighing inwardly. He was insanely jealous of old Zhou. If only Zhang Yinyin would think about him that much too. From the first moment he saw Zhang Yinyin, Chong Hao had already fallen hard. Unfortunately, she seemed to have almost no interest in him at all. The moment they reached the entrance to the boys' dorm, Su Qing spotted a back she knew all too well. The second she recognized that it was Zhou Yuan, she excitedly called out, "Zhou Yuan." Hearing his name, Zhou Yuan turned around in confusion. But the instant he saw that it was Su Qing, his heart skipped hard. All he could think was that this woman really was haunting him like a ghost that refused to leave. Standing beside her, Zhang Yinyin was just as surprised when she saw Zhou Yuan. Wasn't this the same guy from the train who had sneaked glances at her chest? In that moment, Zhou Yuan was panicking on the inside. But on the surface, he forced himself to stay calm. Putting on a completely unfamiliar look, he asked, "Who are you? Do we know each other?" This was Su Qing's first proper meeting with her future husband since being reborn. Her smile bloomed like a flower as she immediately introduced herself. "My name is Su Qing. Just like you. I'm from Xuhuai No. 1 High School." Faced with the hand she warmly extended toward him, Zhou Yuan ignored it completely. Instead, in a rather cool tone, he asked, "So, are you hitting on me?" And unbelievably, Su Qing actually nodded and softly answered, In Su Qing's mind, Zhou Yuan had chased her in the previous life. This time, it was only fair that she be the one to make the first move and take this man for herself. But what she never expected was that Zhou Yuan didn't hesitate at all. He flatly said that he already had someone he liked. The smile on Su Qing's face froze instantly. She couldn't understand it at all. At this point in time, wasn't Zhou Yuan supposed to like her? How could there suddenly be someone else? As Su Qing's face darkened more and more, Zhou Yuan acted like he noticed nothing at all. He even went out of his way to describe that girl's looks, saying she was exactly his type in every way. Every one of those words sounded unbearably harsh to Su Qing. Gritting her teeth inwardly, she swore that Zhou Yuan was done for in this life. He was going to fall at her feet no matter what. Seeing that the atmosphere was getting more and more awkward, Zhang Yinyin quickly stepped in to smooth things over. Smiling brightly at Zhou Yuan, she waved and said, "Hey, handsome. Fancy meeting you again." And to be fair, Zheng Yinyin was every bit as pretty as Su Qing. On a sudden whim, Zhou Yuan pulled out his phone, clearly wanting to add her as a contact. But when Su Qing noticed that he was holding the latest iPhone 5, she was instantly puzzled. Where had he even gotten the money for that? Zheng Yinyin, meanwhile, silently thought that Zhou Yuan might actually be more capable than he looked. While Zheng Yinyin was still hesitating over whether she should add him, Su Qing quickly jumped in and said, "Then I'll add you too." Seeing her best friend acting so eager, Zheng Yinyin hurriedly tugged on her arm and laughed it off. "Not this time, but we'll add each other next time if there's a chance." Around then, Changhao casually mentioned that the instructor had said there would be a class meeting at 7 that night to choose the class monitor. Since Zhou Yuan hadn't picked up his phone, Changhao had been told to pass the message along. Seizing on that excuse, Zhou Yuan immediately slung an arm over Changhao's shoulders and headed back toward the dorm with him, which honestly worked as a pretty decent way to get himself out of that awkward situation. Before long, it was already 7 in the evening. At the class meeting, the boys were all busy discussing which girl in class was the prettiest, and naturally, the most enthusiastic one in the room was Changhao. He even seriously told Li Chang to look in the 7 o'clock direction. Following where he pointed, the girl over there had delicate features and a pretty nice figure too. The whole class was whispering among themselves, while Zhou Yuan kept his head down, chatting with Li Shiqi on his phone about the campus SIM cards. He couldn't help thinking that, as expected of the top student, her efficiency really was on another level. As soon as the counselor stepped into the room, the noise around them quickly died down. She introduced herself briefly, saying her name was Yuchang Jin and that she was their counselor. Before military training started, they first needed to elect a temporary class monitor, so she asked if anyone wanted to volunteer. The moment he heard the word class monitor, Zhou Yuan became interested because this was obviously another perfect chance to push his campus SIM card business. The first person to stand up was a girl named Gu Yaoyao, who said she wanted to run for female class monitor. Since she was pretty, it didn't take long before another guy jumped up to run too on the surface. He said he was joining the election, but everyone could tell he mainly wanted an excuse to get to know Gu Yaoyao. Changhao naturally refused to fall behind. He stood up as well and confidently announced that he was from the capital. If he became class monitor, he said he would take on every dirty job and all the heavy lifting himself. But while everyone else was busy canvassing for votes, Zhou Yuan had already started quietly handing out campus SIM card flyers below the stage. He didn't even spare the counselor, walking right up and handing one or two. Then he simply went up to the podium, openly revealed that he was the general agent, and said that if he were elected class monitor, everyone could get extra discounts on their packages. With just a few short lines, he drew the entire class's attention to himself. Even the counselor couldn't help thinking that this kid's ability to control a room was somehow even stronger than hers. On top of that, Zhou Yuan smoothly turned several interested classmates into sub-agents. As long as they brought in people to sign up for cards, they could all earn commission from him. Very quickly, he had completely fired up the whole class. As for the class monitor vote, the result was naturally a one-sided landslide in his favor. After the class meeting ended, several girls immediately gathered around Zhou Yuan, using the excuse of getting SIM cards to get closer to him. The one leading the charge was Gu Yaoyao. She even handed Zhou Yuan her ID card without hesitation. Then, in a teasing tone, she said the class monitor better not show it to outsiders. Hearing that, Zhou Yuan was speechless. Who in the world would waste time messing around with her ID card? Even though she only came in second and became the vice monitor, Gu Yaoyao was clearly getting worked up over how thoroughly Zhou Yuan ignored her. In her heart, she had already started challenging him, thinking that Zhou Yuan had really gotten himself into trouble. While making money through the campus SIM card business, Zhou Yuan also casually collected the phone numbers of quite a few freshman girls. After showering with his roommates and heading back to the dorm to rest, he ran into several freshman girls on the way, and every one of them enthusiastically came over to greet him. On top of that, they all called him senior, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. His roommates walking with him were completely stunned and couldn't help blurting out, "What the hell is going on with old Zhou?" The moment they got back to the dorm, the three of them immediately surrounded Zhou Yuan and started interrogating him without mercy. Left with no better option, Zhou Yuan casually made something up and told them he had a twin brother who was already a sophomore at this university. Those three fools were full of jealousy and envy, and somehow they actually believed about 30% of it. Right then, Zhou Yuan's phone suddenly rang that it was Li Shiqi, the top student, calling him. The second the call connected, her unbelievably excited voice came through. She had already finished the sales target of 30 people. On top of that, Li Shiqi told him she had found a brand new sales channel and then asked whether Zhou Yuan had any reward for her. Zhou Yuan casually replied, "How about I treat you to a meal?" What he didn't expect was that Li Shiqi immediately asked back, "Can you just convert it into cash?" That question completely threw Zhou Yuan off. He couldn't help thinking that this girl had really fallen straight into the money pit. In the end, all he could do was laugh and give in. "Fine, if not dinner, I'll give you 200 in cash as a separate reward." After the call ended, Chang Hao and Li Chong immediately crowded over again, hoping to squeeze a few pretty girls' contact numbers out of Zhou Yuan. But Zhou Yuan shut them down with a bucket of cold water right away. "Don't waste your time that you're not as handsome as me. Girls definitely won't bother with you." The two of them were so annoyed they were grinding their teeth on the spot. Zhou Yuan, meanwhile, stayed completely calm and waved it off. "Go to sleep, that we still have to get up early tomorrow." But in his dream that night, he saw his ex-wife, Su Qing, curled up in his arms, softly telling him, "In this life, you're only allowed to love me." If he ever dared bully her, then in the next life, and the life after that, she would never let him go and would stay glued to his side forever. That scene jolted Zhou Yuan awake in an instant. He frowned to himself. Could Su Qing really be like that, just like in a dream? But the problem was, he hadn't even bullied her in this life. Then suddenly, a thought flashed through his mind. In this life, his SIM card business had already made such a huge stir. And with how smart Su Qing was, she would definitely grow suspicious. She might even guess that he was a reborn person too. Looks like he needed to find a chance to test her. Early the next morning, Zhou Yuan, now acting as class monitor, was already busy counting the class's military training uniforms. Before long, Vice Monitor Gu Yaoyao also arrived. The moment he saw her, Zhou Yuan's eyes lit up. He greeted her enthusiastically and immediately handed over the work in his hands. He said with a straight face that the service hall staff were coming today to process cards together. So he had to go over there and handle things. This side would have to be left to Gu Yaoyao. He even casually promised to treat her to a meal after he was done, then turned around and ran off without looking back. That scene just happened to be seen by another girl from their dorm who was instantly unhappy and demanded to know, "Gu Yaoyao, what is the meaning of this? Didn't we all agree to compete fairly? Why are you secretly making dinner plans with him behind our backs?" Gu Yaoyao looked completely disdainful and snapped right back. "Zhou Yuan isn't anyone's boyfriend yet. We're all women here. Why shouldn't I rely on my own abilities?" The girls secretly competing over Zhou Yuan naturally didn't escape Su Qing's notice either. The strange suspicion rose in her heart. In her previous life, there definitely hadn't been this many romantic rivals. Could it be that Zhou Yuan, like her, had also somehow changed in this life? Just as she was thinking about it, Zhang Yinyan suddenly popped up beside her and startled her badly. Zhang Yinyan asked with a puzzled expression, "Class Monitor Su, what are you spacing out for?" As Su Qing's roommate, Zhang Yinyan genuinely couldn't figure out how Zhou Yuan had managed to charm Su Qing this badly. What exactly was so special about that guy? Interrupted by her friend, Su Qing could only suppress her thoughts for the moment and impatiently urged, "What are you standing around for? Hurry up and hand out the military training uniforms." Right then, the loyal lapdog Chang Hao appeared again, eagerly volunteering to help Zhang Yinyan. But while he was busy helping, the question still lingered in his mind, and Zhang Yinyan couldn't help asking him why Zhou Yuan always seemed so lukewarm towards Su Qing. In her eyes, Su Qing was already impressive enough. They were architecture and design majors, and during yesterday's class election, Su Qing had started speaking in streams of technical jargon. Even the counselor had openly admired her talent, and in the end, she had almost been unanimously elected class monitor. How could a girl who was both beautiful and capable still leave Zhou Yuan so unmoved? Chang Hao spread his hands and said he had no idea either. But speaking of it, old Zhou really was pretty outstanding himself that on top of being tall and handsome, he was also their class monitor, and right after school started, he had already become the campus SIM card general agent and was making good money. After hearing all that about Zhou Yuan, Zhang Yinyan found herself getting more and more curious about him. She simply told Chang how to send her Zhou Yuan's WeChat, saying that she wanted to get a SIM card too. Meanwhile, while walking along the road, Zhou Yuan just so happened to run into Senior Chenwan again, and she immediately asked how his results were and whether he had pulled in anyone for her. Zhou Yuan instantly felt awkward. Judging from her reaction, she probably still hadn't noticed anything YETSO, but he carefully tested the waters first. "How much commission do they give you per person over there?" Chenwan immediately put on a smug look and said it was 30 per head, and that she had already pulled in 20 people. Hearing that, Zhou Yuan instantly came up with another plan and said directly, "Senior, how about you sell me their info instead? I'll give you $50 per person in commission." Right at that moment, the service hall staff happened to arrive. The second they saw Zhou Yuan, they respectfully greeted him with, "Boss Zhou, we're already on our side to set up the service booth." One of the clerks asked when the students getting cards would arrive, and Zhou Yuan calmly replied, "No rush. The notice said 10 o'clock, so you guys just get the booth set up first." Seeing all this, Chen-wan was even more confused than before and couldn't help asking, "Junior, what exactly is going on here?" At that point, Zhou Yuan felt there was no point hiding it anymore, so he introduced himself properly in a serious tone. "Senior, let's reintroduce ourselves that I'm Zhou Yuan, the general agent for Xianlin University." After all the moves Zhou Yuan had been making, the campus SIM card business finally reached its true harvest moment. Not long after the service hall girls finished setting up the booth, his good brother Lu Shua arrived in dramatic fashion with a whole crowd behind him, ready to get cards. Ever since high school, Lu Shua had treated Zhou Yuan like his big brother. His grades weren't great, so he was studying at a vocational college near Zhou Yuan's university. Since he already carried a strong street guy aura, he basically dragged all the brothers he had made along the way over to sign up for SIM cards too. At the same time, Li Shiqi, who was working as one of Zhou Yuan's sub-agents, also brought over the roughly 30 customers she had gathered herself. Since the line for getting SIM cards was already huge, the scene quickly grew loud and eye-catching, and before long, quite a few passersby started stopping to ask questions too. In Zhou Yuan's eyes, every single one of them was a potential customer, so he immediately stepped forward and enthusiastically started pitching to them. He even made sure to hand each person a flyer. That level of aggressive, proactive salesmanship was so intense that even Li Shiqi and Senior Chen-wan couldn't help being impressed. On top of that, Zhou Yuan was offering an extra 10 per person, so Chen-wan finally stopped hesitating and agreed to work with him too. After all, nobody wanted to fight against money. As the general agent, even if this still didn't count as truly huge money, Zhou Yuan could already tell that pulling in well over 100,000 was basically guaranteed. Just as he was secretly feeling pleased with himself, Chang Hao walked over with Zhang Yinyan and Su Qing beside him. On the surface, Zhou Yuan still looked perfectly calm, but the moment he saw Su Qing, a nervous tension still rose instinctively in his chest. Zhang Yinyan, who had grown more and more curious about him, was the first to greet him with a smile. The very first thing she asked was, "Why haven't you accepted my WeChat request yet?" Plenty of girls had added Zhou Yuan already, but there was no way he could say that to her face. So he could only make an excuse and say he'd been too busy all morning to notice. The second he let his guard down, Zhang Yinyan suddenly snatched his phone away and casually remarked, "This new iPhone 5 definitely wasn't cheap, huh?" Afraid she might start poking through the private stuff on his phone, Zhou Yuan rushed after her immediately, and the two of them ended up playfully chasing each other around. Watching that scene from the side, Su Qing felt more and more that something was wrong, because everything unfolding in front of her was completely different from what had happened in the previous life. She finally couldn't hold it in anymore and loudly demanded in front of everyone, "How did you suddenly become the general agent? This is completely different from before." Faced with that question, Zhou Yuan simply shot back coldly, "Why can't I be the general agent?" "Su, the way you talk is really weird." At that point, Su Qing was already flustered and frustrated enough that she blurted out, "Are you really someone from this era?" The moment she heard that, Zhang Yinyan burst out laughing. "Su Qing, what kind of question is that? If he's not from this era, then what? Did he come from some other one?" Hearing that, Zhou Yuan's heart sank instantly. He inwardly cursed his luck. Sure enough, Su Qing had already started getting suspicious. Just as the group stood there trapped in awkward silence, Xinyu suddenly appeared and called out, "Senior Zhou, long time no see." At that point, the whole senior identity was impossible to keep hiding anymore. So Zhou Yuan could only helplessly explain that he had tricked her earlier purely for the sake of selling SIM cards, because that was what the business required. He even added that he really hadn't had much choice and hoped Xinyu wouldn't take offense. Zhang Yinyan immediately jumped in with a teasing smile, saying that since Zhou Yuan had fooled her roommate, the least he could do was treat everyone to a meal. Zhou Yuan agreed without much hesitation and said he would definitely do it once he finished dealing with this rush. While they were still talking, Lu Shual and the others arrived too. The group quickly blended together, introducing themselves and laughing with one another, and the atmosphere grew lively fast. But right then, the school gate, which had been fairly peaceful a moment ago, was suddenly shattered by the roar of motorcycle engines. A few flashy, trouble-looking girls climbed off the bikes and strode straight toward them with hostile swagger, loudly demanding, "Are you the ones handling SIM cards here?" For a moment, everyone fell silent and nobody answered right away. Only Li Shiqi stepped forward and politely asked, "Hi, are you also here to get campus SIM cards? If you do it today, the lowest price is only 140. But it was obvious these girls had not come with friendly intentions, and everyone around them instinctively became more alert. Sure enough, the next second, one of the biker girls slapped the flyer straight out of Li Shiqi's hand and viciously demanded, "Why are other people selling them for $150 while you're selling them for $140? What? Are you trying to ruin the market?" Crushed under that aggressive pressure, Li Shiqi was clearly shaken. A bad feeling rose inside her, as she thought that maybe the post she had made online had attracted people from other schools after all. Seeing that things were going bad fast, Li Shiqi instinctively tried to step back, but the other girl grabbed her wrist on the spot and demanded an explanation. Left with no other choice, Li Shiqi could only force herself to reply. Market competition naturally favors the fittest. But before she could even finish, the other side shoved her hard. That one push nearly sent Li Shiqi crashing straight to the ground. Luckily, Zhou Yuan reacted fast enough and caught Li Shiqi before she could fall. Then he lifted his eyes and looked coldly at the biker girls, his voice already edged with anger. "I'm the one in charge here. If you got a problem, take it up with me." That scene landed very differently in the eyes of the two girls nearby. The younger Zhang Yinyin, Zhou Yuan looked insanely cool. But to Su Qing, who had already lived another life, it just looked like reckless bravado. Right after that, another burst of roaring motorcycle engines came from the distance. Several biker guys also showed up, and one glance was enough to tell that the ringleader of this group had finally arrived. The man was heavily built and stood a good half a head taller than Zhou Yuan. The moment he got off the bike, he didn't waste words that he walked straight up to Zhou Yuan and asked, "You're Zhou Yuan, the general agent for Xianlin University, right? Your people have already started reaching into my territory." He deliberately pointed out that the Jinkin side had always been under his agency, and that he had a signed agreement with the service hall. If Zhou Yuan kept doing this, wasn't that crossing the line a bit? The guy came on strong, but Zhou Yuan didn't back down in the slightest. He replied immediately, "Sure, then show me the contract. If it really says Jinkin can only be handled by you, I'll refund the money." Obviously, the man had just been bluffing. Seeing that Zhou Yuan wasn't buying it, he narrowed his eyes and said, "Looks like student Zhou really wants to test this out." He then tossed out one last line, "Tonight, 8 o'clock, barbecue stand on Shuefa Road. If you're a man, come." After that, he led his people away without another word. Behind him, Li Shiqi knew this whole mess had started because of her. She had never imagined there were territorial divisions between agents, so she apologized guiltily to Zhou Yuan. Zhou Yuan only gave her a reassuring look and told her to leave it to him. Standing beside Su Qing, Zhang Yinyin couldn't help teasing with a smile. "This future husband of yours really isn't easy to catch. Gentle, reliable, and responsible. He's definitely the type girls love." But just then, Su Qing suddenly realized something was off. When Zhou Yuan had faced those thugs just now, he hadn't shown even the slightest bit of tension or fear that a normal student should have had. And when she connected that with the possibility that he had been pretending not to know her all along, Su Qing finally exploded. She shouted straight at Zhou Yuan, "Is this Li Shiqi, the girl you said you like?" She was still the same as in the last life, throwing a spoiled rich girl tantrum the second things didn't go her way. Thinking that, Zhou Yuan only replied coldly, "What does that have to do with you?" Seeing that the atmosphere was turning worse by the second, Zhang Yinyin hurriedly stepped in to smooth things over WY now. She could clearly tell that these two did not look like boyfriend and girlfriend at all. If anything, they looked like two people tangled up in some kind of messy history. Zhou Yuan, meanwhile, had no interest in saying more. Leaving nothing but his back behind, he simply took Li Shiqi and left. Su Qing could only swallow all that frustration back down and start thinking hard about how she was supposed to break this deadlock. Later that afternoon, Lu Shua came looking for Zhou Yuan on his own and said he could pull in another 40 or 50 people, which should probably be enough. He even thoughtfully offered up his own allowance money. After all, since they were calling people to back them up for a fight, he felt that at least some gesture of sincerity was necessary. But there was no way Zhou Yuan was taking his brother's money. He directly pulled out 3,000 and stuffed it into Lu Shua's hands, telling him to quietly make arrangements. He should call as many people as he could, and if that still wasn't enough, Zhou Yuan had more. That kind of complete trust moved Lu Shua deeply. Back in high school, the two of them hadn't actually been that close, but from this moment on, Lu Shua quietly made up his mind that he would follow Zhou Yuan from now on. Seeing that it was getting late, Zhou Yuan decided to first walk Li Shiqi back to her dorm and then head over to the appointment. On the way, he handed Li Shiqi every bit of commission she had earned, without holding back a single cent. This time, she had made a total of 1,300, but with the money in her hand, Li Shiqi only felt guiltier and guiltier. After all, this whole mess had started because of her, so she tried to hand it back. But her family circumstances were poor to begin with, and she was already relying on work study just to get through college. The more she thought about it, the worse she felt, until tears began falling uncontrollably. Of course, Zhou Yuan had no intention of taking the money back. He deliberately leaned in with a grin and teased her. Who would have thought our class leader Li is actually such a little crybaby? That one sentence turned Li Shiqi's whole face red. Since Zhou Yuan refused to take the money no matter what, she could only try another way to repay him. Blushing, she softly suggested that she could treat him to a meal, or maybe a movie. The way she looked, careful, shy, and adorably nervous, was honestly too cute, and Zhou Yuan didn't refuse again. That he simply nodded and agreed. With a smile, he followed up by saying, "Then let's wait until after Mid-Autumn Festival. When that time comes, you can treat me to a movie." Li Shiqi gave him a sweet smile and nodded gently. Why this point? Zhou Yuan's figure had already sunk much deeper into her heart. After saying goodbye to each other, Li Shiqi headed back to the dorm first. As Zhou Yuan walked away, he couldn't help thinking that, comparing the past life with the present one, Li Shiqi really was a genuinely good girl. And precisely because of that, he would need to find a chance to make things clear with her, because deep down, he was still a man who never wanted to marry. Before long, the agreed time arrived, and Zhou Yuan showed up right on time at the barbecue stand on Shuefa Road. The other side had brought more than a dozen people this time. One of the lackeys even pointed a beer bottle at Zhou Yuan and barked arrogantly, asking if he was the punk who had been stealing business. Zhou Yuan only replied in a calm, almost lazy tone, telling him to put the bottle down before speaking. The guy burst out laughing the moment he heard that, cursing as he answered that he was pointing the bottle at him right now. So what was Zhou Yuan going to do about it? In an instant, Zhou Yuan's gaze turned completely cold. The very next second, he flashed forward in a burst of speed, closed the distance in 2 quick steps, and drove a punch straight into the man's stomach. The move came out so fast it was almost ridiculous, instantly shocking everyone else around him. Zhou Yuan didn't know whether it was because of the rebirth or not, but his physical condition now was several times stronger than before. That single punch was enough to drop the guy to the ground. Right at that moment, Lu Shuo arrived with his people. Shouts and curses rolled in like a wave, and from a distance, it looked like nearly 100 men had shown up. The whole scene looked exactly like something out of a gangster movie. The people on the other side were scared stupid on the spot. The dense crowd of bodies almost filled the entire street. The same people who had been acting wild and arrogant a second ago now didn't even dare move recklessly. It didn't take long before the leader, Zhao Hao, completely folded. With his hands pressed together, he forced a smile and kept saying it was all just a misunderstanding and that he was the one in the wrong. As he spoke, he even grabbed a bottle of beer and chugged it down in one go. Seeing that Zhou Yuan still showed no sign of softening, Zhao Hao gritted his teeth and downed 2 more bottles in a row. Once he felt the timing was right, Zhou Yuan finally waved a hand and said the drinking could stop. He added that he wasn't completely innocent either, since his girlfriend had just started college and didn't understand the rules, so she had crossed into their territory. By then, Zhao Hao knew full well he had kicked an iron plate. He didn't dare push the topic any further and could only keep apologizing, even lowering his voice to say that Jin Qin, the sister-in-law, could do whatever she wanted from now on. And so, under the excited and admiring gazes of the brothers around them, Zhao Hao and his crew slunk away in disgrace. That storm finally came to an end. Thank all the guys who had shown up to back him. Zhou Yuan waved a generous hand and announced that tonight's barbecue and beer were all on him. The hot-blooded young men erupted with cheers at once, and cries of "Long live Brother Zhou" rang through the whole street. While they were eating, Zhou Yuan lowered his voice and asked Lu Shuo how he had managed to pull together so many people so quickly. Lu Shuo looked proud as hell and said he had simply tricked everyone from classes 1 and 2 into coming by, saying there'd be barbecue. Hearing that, Zhou Yuan secretly gave him a thumbs up on the spot, thinking this brother was absolutely worth having. By the next day, the whole thing had already spread across the campus forum, and the headline was outrageous enough to grab everyone's attention. New campus kingpin Zhou Yuan in 100-man brawl at the school gate. The comments section completely exploded, and the rumors grew more ridiculous with every retelling. Someone had even invented a gang name for them, the Shuhuai Club. Back in the dorm, even his roommates were looking at Zhou Yuan differently now, while Zhou Yuan angrily insisted that the whole thing was complete nonsense and said he was contacting the forum admin right away to get the post taken down. After finally getting a second chance at life, he had no intention of ruining his reputation over something like this, so he immediately found the admin's phone number and called. At first, the person on the other end couldn't have cared less about his request to delete the thread. That attitude only changed once Zhou Yuan calmly said that he was Zhou Yuan himself. The tone on the other end flipped instantly. suddenly respectful, the man hurriedly replied, "Got it, brother Zhou, that I'll delete it right away." After hanging up, Zhou Yuan made sure to check, and the post really had been deleted. Only then did he finally let out a breath of relief. But before he could relax for long, another call came in right after that, from Su Qing. Since it was already late at night, Zhou Yuan hesitated for a moment over whether he should answer, while Chang Hao, standing nearby, suggested that it was probably about the forum post. The moment Zhou Yuan saw the guilty look on Chang Hao's face, he understood Su Qing normally didn't pay attention to this kind of thing, so it was almost certainly Zhang Yanyan who had told her. Even after being met with Zhou Yuan's cold attitude again and again, Su Qing still refused to give up. Late in the night, she sat there staring at her phone, going over it again and again in her head, trying to figure out how she could make Zhou Yuan fall at her feet all over again. That whole scene just happened to be spotted by her roommate Zhang Yanyan, who immediately crouched down and snapped a photo. The reason was simple. Su Qing's legs were way too eye-catching. Zhang Yanyan even felt that if she posted the picture on the campus forum, it would absolutely blow up. There probably wouldn't be anyone who could compete with her for the title of best legs on campus. The moment Su Qing noticed, she lunged over to grab the phone, yelling at Zhang Yanyan to delete it while the two of them broke into playful laughter and started wrestling over it. Before long, Zhang Yanyan was already losing the battle and had no choice but to call for Shunyu to join the fight. Once Shunyu stepped in, she directly pulled the two girls apart. Then, as if something had just occurred to her, she curiously asked Su Qing, "Haven't you ever figured out how Zhou Yuan suddenly became the general agent? Did you get any answers later?" The second Zhou Yuan's name came up, Zhang Yanyan immediately got energized and started laughing as she told the story of how Shunyu had been fooled by him before. The moment that was brought up, Shunyu's face turned red. She even added, Zhou Yuan first pretended to be a senior to draw freshmen in, then only after gathering enough leverage did he turn around and negotiate for the general agency. That kind of seasoned strategy simply does not feel like something freshmen had come up with. Zhang Yanyan couldn't help chiming in that the guy really didn't feel like a normal person their age at all. If anything, he was basically an old fox. Listening to her roommates talk like that only deepened Su Qing's suspicion. At this point, she was almost certain that Zhou Yuan, just like her, had to be a reborn person. The problem was that no matter how much she probed, he absolutely refused to admit it. Right then, Zhang Yanyan suddenly let out a strange yelp while staring at her phone. It turned out that her devoted simp Chang Hao had sent her a message, and what was inside was way too explosive. There was no helping it now. The story about Zhou Yuan getting into a group fight had already spread across the whole campus. Su Qing and Shunyu leaned over to look at the phone too, and the expressions on both their faces instantly shifted into total shock. Zhang Yanyan got even more fired up and blurted out, "No wonder Su Qing likes Zhou Yuan so much. He is apparently the hidden boss behind that so-called Xuhuai Club." But in Su Qing's memory, the Zhou Yuan from her previous life had only ever been a totally ordinary college student. She stared at the screen over and over, and the more she looked, the more completely lost she became. At that point, she even started wondering whether the world she had returned to after being reborn was not the original world at all. Seeing Su Qing's face get uglier and uglier, her roommates couldn't help growing worried. They all started comforting her, saying that things on the internet were probably just made-up nonsense meant to grab attention. But Su Qing couldn't hear a word of it. She grabbed her phone and immediately tried to call Zhou Yuan. She had to ask him herself who he really was and whether he was someone like her. The second the call connected, Su Qing couldn't hold back and immediately asked in a tense tone, "Are you really Zhou Yuan?" Hearing that, Zhou Yuan found it completely absurd and shot back. "If I'm not Zhou Yuan, then who else would I be?" "Su Qing, is there something wrong with your head?" Right after that, Su Qing tried to invite him out to meet her over the weekend. But what Zhou Yuan said next hit her like a bolt of lightning that he bluntly told her, "I have no time, but I'm taking my girlfriend to the movies this weekend." Then he hung up. When her roommates saw how close Su Qing looked to breaking down, they all panicked and rushed over to ask what was wrong, afraid something serious had happened to her. In the very next second, Su Qing threw herself in Shunyu's arms and burst into tears, sobbing, "Zhou Yuan doesn't want me anymore. The Zhou Yuan who once loved and spoiled me is gone. If this world no longer has that version of him, then what meaning does my rebirth even have?" Watching her cry like that, Zhang Yanyan genuinely couldn't understand it. All she could do was stand to the side and tell her there were plenty of good men in the world and that someone as amazing as her had nothing to fear. But at the same time, she was already angrily preparing to contact Chang Hao and get the truth out of him. But by now, Su Qing's heart had already turned cold. She felt that the divorce in the previous life had happened because of her own stubbornness, And now, even the chance to start over felt as though Zhou Yuan himself had extinguished it. She even made up her mind that if Zhou Yuan truly didn't want her in this life, then she would never marry for the rest of her life. Just then, a message notification suddenly sounded from Zheng Yinyan's phone. She opened it, her eyes lit up, and she immediately shoved the message in front of Su Qing. "Stop crying. That guy was lying to you on purpose. He doesn't have a girlfriend at all." According to the message Chang Hao had sent, Zhou Yuan and Li Shiqi actually weren't close at all. It turned out Li Shiqi's family situation was poor, and because she had been too desperate while selling, she accidentally offended people from another school zone that in the end, Zhou Yuan had spent over 4,000 to settle the whole thing. Hearing that, even Shin Yu couldn't help chiming in that this sounded like it was probably all just a misunderstanding. But in Zheng Yinyan's mind, she had already almost fully labeled Zhou Yuan as a complete scumbag. So no matter what, she had to drag him out and make him explain himself. After thinking it over carefully, Zheng Yinyan immediately sent Chang Hao a message. "I am willing to give you a chance to pursue me, but only on the condition that Zhou Yuan must show up to the dorm friendship dinner." The second Chang Hao saw that message, he was completely dumbfounded. But for the sake of winning the goddess's favor, he immediately went to Zhou Yuan and begged pitifully. Zhou Yuan, however, refused with total firmness, and no matter how much Chang Hao pleaded it aside, he absolutely would not go. Left with no other choice, Chang Hao could only grit his teeth and say that this was a group activity between the dorms after all. He quickly looked at the other two as well, then pitifully begged Zhou Yuan to give him some face, since he had already agreed to it. The other two roommates, on the other hand, were full of enthusiasm in their minds. Only an idiot would pass up a free meal. In the end, Zhou Yuan could only reluctantly give in, though he still added one condition. "If you treat me, I'll go." For the sake of his own happiness, Chang Hao agreed almost without thinking. But when Li Chang tried to tag along for a free ride too, Chang Hao immediately refused and made it clear in advance. "Let's be clear, I'm only paying for old Zhou. Everyone else splits the bill." Just as they were chatting, Lu Shua suddenly called. The moment Zhou Yuan answered, the excited voice of the dark, chubby guy came roaring through the phone. "Brother Zhou, did you see it? Our Shuhuai club is blowing up. I'm already recognized as the second in command." Zhou Yuan had absolutely no interest in any chief or second boss nonsense. So he looked completely helpless and told Lu Shua to cut out the useless crap and get straight to why he had called. When it came to gathering people and building cliques, Lu Shua was naturally always the most excited. After calming down a bit, he brought up another issue. The school's external relations department was outrageously shameless. They found part-time jobs for students, then skimmed huge kickbacks for themselves in the middle. Many students worked themselves to death for an entire day and only got 100, while the people from external relations did absolutely nothing and still pocketed 50 just by opening their mouths. Lu Shua's meaning was obvious. He wanted Zhou Yuan to think of some way to keep that crowd in check. In his previous life, this kind of thing had actually been very common. Back then, Zhou Yuan had no ability to interfere, so all he could do was watch and let happen. But in this life, things were clearly different. Since he already had a certain amount of influence now, he could completely bypass the external relations department, organize the student resources himself, and build the whole operation on his own. Thinking of that, Zhou Yuan simply explained the exact approach to Lu Shua over the phone. Still, he made one point very clear. They absolutely could not do what the external relations department was doing and take cuts in the middle. This should just be treated as people from the same hometown helping each other out. Right now, the campus SIM card business was giving Zhou Yuan cash flow, while the part-time job business would help him build up connections and channels. With both of those in his hands, he suddenly felt like making money really wasn't as hard as people made it out to be. Seen that way, the name Shuhuai Club actually might not be entirely useless after all. In the blink of an eye, it was the night before military training. Chang Hao was still too excited about seeing Zheng Yinyan the next day to sleep, and he even wanted to drag Zhou Yuan into chatting for a while longer. But Zhou Yuan couldn't be bothered to pay any attention to this hopeless simp. The moment he thought about having to go through military training the next day, irritation surged through him, and he started thinking that he absolutely had to come up with some way around it. Morning came quickly. Chang Hao had stayed up late and had also been woken several times in the middle of the night by Li Chang's snoring. As a result, he looked half dead with exhaustion, and by the time he stumbled out of bed, the others were practically already heading out. By the time they reached the field, the whole class had already lined up neatly in formation. Sure enough, Chang Hao was late, and the instructor caught him on the spot. Faced with a harsh scolding from the instructor, Chang Hao could only keep apologizing and promising over and over that he would never do it again. Meanwhile, standing in the formation, Zhou Yuan was quietly holding the sick leave note he had prepared in advance. He was already thinking to himself that if Chang Hao dared offend the instructor on the very first day, the rest of his training would definitely be miserable. Only after being chewed out for almost a full 3 minutes was that poor bastard finally allowed back into line. But the guy clearly never learned his lesson. The moment he got back, he lowered his voice and muttered to Zhou Yuan, "This instructor looks like he deserves a beating." Unfortunately for him, the instructor heard every word. He pointed at Chang Hao on the spot and ordered him to step out and hold a horse stance for half an hour. That was when Chang Hao finally became truly obedient. He didn't dare say even one more word and could only do as told. Not far away, Xinyu leaned toward Zhang Yinyan and teased her with a smile, asking whether she really wasn't the least bit heartbroken seeing her Chang Hao being punished like that. That line instantly set Zhang Yinyan off. She went straight at Xinyu with a barrage of words. "He is not mine. Your whole family can have him for all I care." After that little incident, the instructor had fully established his authority in everyone's minds, so he began formally laying out the rules of military training. Seeing that the timing was just right, Zhou Yuan immediately raised the sick note in his hand and called out, "Report, instructor, that I'm not feeling well." Since he had the note in hand, the instructor couldn't do much about it. All he could do was wave impatiently and tell Zhou Yuan to get lost to the infirmary. Zhou Yuan walked past Chang Hao with both hands in his pockets, taking his sweet time, while Chang Hao, still stuck in his horse stance, could only look at him with naked envy and bitterly regret not thinking of that trick himself. When Zhou Yuan left the formation, Su Qing and the others naturally saw it too. Zhang Yinyan even found herself muttering inside that this guy was way too weak physically. But once the training continued under the blazing 3 o'clock afternoon sun, Zhang Yinyan quickly stopped thinking that way. In no time, sweat had already soaked through the front of her clothes. Only then did she finally understand why Zhou Yuan had asked for leave. That move had been ridiculously sly. Since she really couldn't hold on anymore, Zhang Yinyan copied the trick, raised her hand, and said that her period had come and that she needed a rest. Just like that, she escaped the disaster too, and she was so happy on the way out that she even started humming to herself. Seeing that, Chang Hao tried to follow behind by claiming he had diarrhea, but the instructor shut him down harshly on the spot and even snapped, "If you crap your pants, I'll wash them for you." That line instantly made the whole class burst into laughter, while Chang Hao could only stand there and shed silent tears of sorrow. The infirmary was wonderfully cool, and before long it was already 5 in the afternoon. After wandering around campus for a while, Zhou Yuan came back, and the moment he pushed open the door, he found someone already inside. To his surprise, he wasn't the only one who had come to the infirmary to slack off. Zhang Yinyan was already there too. And honestly, there was no denying that this girl's looks were seriously top tier. Since both of them had come here faking illness, neither had any right to judge the other. Zhou Yuan directly asked, "What? You came here to slack off too?" Zhang Yinyan immediately fired back. "Oh, the wandering patient is back." But Zhou Yuan's mind was full of thoughts about how to make more money, so he couldn't be bothered to bicker with her. He only casually reminded her that training was about to end and that it was time to head back. Seeing how completely indifferent he was toward her, Zhang Yinyan gave a small snort and became even more convinced that this guy really was one sly old fox. The first day of military training finally came to an end, and just before dismissal, the instructor suddenly called Chang Hao over and asked for his name. By now, Chang Hao had already been beaten into total obedience. He didn't dare hesitate for even a second and immediately shouted his name out loud, fully expecting the instructor to mess with him some more. But who could have expected that the instructor would suddenly pull a complete reversal and directly appoint Chang Hao as the class monitor for Class 2 during military training? The moment he got back to the dorm, Chang Hao impatiently sent this good news straight to Zhang Yinyan. Meanwhile, Zhou Yuan's campus SIM card business was already getting close to saturation. He could now bring in a stable 50,000 or so every month. But for him, that was clearly still nowhere near enough. Just as he was wondering whether there were any other ways to make money, Su Qing suddenly sent him a message asking why he hadn't gone to military training that day. Zhou Yuan casually replied that he wasn't feeling well, and that single line immediately set off Su Qing's concern. Her messages started pouring in one after another without stopping. And right at that moment, Zhou Yuan suddenly found himself a little envious of Su Qing's professional skills. If he also knew how to do design work like she did, he could probably make hundreds of thousands just by selling a few design drafts. But in the next second, a flash of inspiration struck him. After all, in his previous life, he had built his fortune by writing novels. In this era, he could casually throw together a web novel smash hit whenever he wanted. Using a Reborn in the City setup as the foundation, Zhou Yuan quickly came up with both the title and the synopsis. Then he deliberately added a hook on top of it. 20,000 words a day, and if he lied, he'd cut off his manhood. Right after that, he posted the novel onto the forum. Almost immediately, the forum exploded. Everyone there. 20,000 words in a day sounded basically impossible, and countless people mocked him, saying they were about to witness a real eunuch author being born. But Zhou Yuan only watched those comments from behind the screen and smiled without saying a word that I end this life. As he re-entered the web novel world, he was going to take back everything that should have been his in the first place. A few more days passed in a blur, and then the weekend finally arrived. Chang Hao and Li Chang were already so eager that they could barely hold themselves back, both obsessed with the dorm friendship dinner. In their eyes, the two with the best chance of finally getting into a relationship were Zhou Yuan and Chang Hao, so Li Chang even begged them miserably to please help him out when the time came. When they arrived at the school gate at the agreed time, Zhou Yuan discovered that Zhang Yinyin and the others had already been there for a while, and the moment they met, they angrily demanded to know why the guys had come so late. Sensing danger, Chang Hao immediately rushed up with a grin and apologized, even taking the initiative to say that this meal would be on him. Among the girls, there was also one new face. After Zhang Yinyin introduced her, Zhou Yuan learned that she was also from room 503. Her name was Lu Lin, and she was usually on the shy side. As the girls walked together toward the restaurant, their youthful and fiery figures naturally drew plenty of stares from passersby. Even some middle-aged men by the roadside couldn't help blushing as they stared. And in their hearts, every one of them was sighing that youth really was wonderful. Before long, the group arrived at a seafood buffet, and the dazzling spread of ingredients filling the place instantly captured everyone's attention. While picking food, Su Qing deliberately moved over to Zhou Yuan's side. Lowering her voice, she directly demanded to know why he had lied to her when he clearly didn't have a girlfriend. Faced with her relentless insistence, Zhou Yuan looked especially impatient and coldly said that he had no intention of dating anyone at all. The moment she heard that, Su Qing became anxious and hurriedly said that they could always start by just being ordinary friends. But Zhou Yuan's face was full of disgust, and inwardly, he only felt that she was still trying to pull that push-and-pull act on him that I end this life. All he wanted was to stay wild and free. Then, all of a sudden, Su Qing dropped a bombshell. Do you believe in past lives and present lives? In fact, we were husband and wife in our previous life. If I told you I was reborn, would you believe me? After hearing that, Zhou Yuan rolled his eyes at her and casually shot back. Then do you know the winning lottery numbers for the next draw? Seeing that he still had that attitude, Su Qing immediately grew anxious and insisted. Everything I'm saying is true. She even blurted out that the two of them would have children in the future. That line actually made Zhou Yuan pause for a second. Inwardly, he couldn't help complaining. When did this woman learn to lie with such a straight face? In the previous life, she was the one who didn't want kids and ended up divorcing him over it. Not wanting to deal with her anymore, Zhou Yuan simply turned away. Once everyone had finished choosing their food, the whole group dug in and started eating and drinking freely. Around the table, everyone chatted and laughed, and overall the atmosphere was still fairly pleasant. At that moment, Xinyu curiously asked Su Qing why she kept pushing Zhou Yuan to write novels. Was his writing really that good? The moment Su Qing mentioned that Zhou Yuan had loved reading ever since high school, Xinyu's interest was immediately piqued. Su Qing could only look at the two of them awkwardly, suddenly remembering that Xinyu herself also loved books. And just like that, Zhou Yuan and Xinyu naturally started talking about all kinds of books. The more they talked, the more the conversation flowed, and the mood between them became noticeably lighter and more natural. Zhang Yinyin caught that scene immediately, and she could tell at once that something was there. It looked like it wasn't only Su Qing. Xinyu also seemed to have started taking an interest in Zhou Yuan. By the time the meal was almost over, Lu Lin was acting completely unconcerned and casually pulled out a cigarette to light one up. Watching that, Zhou Yuan couldn't help feeling a flicker of surprise inside. In his previous life, he had somehow never noticed that Lu Lin could actually be this striking. Her sharp short hair paired with delicate features, and her figure didn't lose to any of the other girls there. Even Li Chang had his eyes glued to Lu Lin's every move. He was so captivated that he had practically started thinking about what their future child should be named. Once everyone had eaten and drunk their fill, Chang Hao enthusiastically proposed that the next stop should be KTV. Since the meal had been paid for by the guys, the four girls briefly discussed it among themselves and all agreed to go sing together. And so the group headed straight to the KTV front desk. Zhang Yinyin had originally thought that for 8 people, a regular medium-sized room would be more than enough. But to everyone's surprise, the receptionist suddenly asked, Which one of you is Mr. Zhou? Your deluxe private room is ready." At that point, Zhou Yuan calmly stepped forward, while everyone behind him froze in place. Once they processed what had just happened, Chang Hao was so moved he practically blurted out, "Old Zhou, you've been hiding your power way too well." Led by the young receptionist, the group quickly arrived at the room. But the moment they stepped inside, every last one of them was stunned by the setup. The place felt absurdly luxurious. Zheng Yinyin, in particular, was so excited that she immediately started snapping photos everywhere, saying, "Now, I finally have new material for my social feed." To show her appreciation, she even went out of her way to take a photo of Zhou Yuan too. In an environment like that, everyone was naturally in an excellent mood, and the drinks started flowing one cup after another. While people were picking songs, Xinyu came over first and asked Zhou Yuan to queue up Red Bean for her. Seeing that, Zheng Yinyin also ran over to join the fun. She had only meant to ask Zhou Yuan to help queue a few songs for her too. But Zhou Yuan hadn't noticed that she was standing right behind him, and when he turned around, the two of them bumped right into each other. Their eyes met instantly, and both of them flushed red on the spot. Zhou Yuan's shoulder had landed perfectly against the most sensitive part of Zheng Yinyin's chest. The moment he realized how bad that looked, he quickly stepped back and hurried to explain, "I really didn't do it on purpose." But to his surprise, Zheng Yinyin didn't get angry at all. Instead, she looked at him with a teasing little smile and softly asked, "Was it soft?" Fortunately, Chang Hao didn't notice any of this. He was too absorbed in his own singing and had no idea that the goddess in his heart was already sharing this kind of charged moment with Zhou Yuan. After returning to the big sofa in the room, Zhou Yuan quickly picked up a drink and took a swallow, trying to calm himself down. Su Qing then leaned over again and asked in a low voice, "What exactly were you and Zheng Yinyin just doing?" Zhou Yuan casually brushed it off, using song selection as an excuse. But Su Qing still couldn't suppress the sour jealousy rising inside her and muttered under her breath, "It was just choosing songs. Did you really have to stand that close?" Meanwhile, completely unaware of the undercurrent, Zheng Yinyin was still happily showing off the photo she had taken earlier, laughing as she said, "I hadn't expected Zhou Yuan to actually be so photogenic." But the more Zhou Yuan looked at that picture, the more he felt that the phone camera had been just a little too close to the place he had accidentally brushed against before. A 17 or 18-year-old body was never going to withstand that kind of stimulation. Heat and blood rushed straight to his head in an instant. Even though his soul was still that of a worldly reborn veteran, a scene like this was honestly almost too much for him to handle. All he could do was force down the agitation in his chest and casually exchange a few more words with Zheng Yinyin. Before long, it was time for Xunyu's song, Red Bean, and to everyone's surprise, it turned out to be the duet version. Seeing that no one was reaching for the second microphone, Zhou Yuan simply stood up and asked Xinyu directly, "Want to sing it together?" In his previous life, Zhou Yuan had actually gone out of his way to study singing online in a systematic way, so music was never something unfamiliar to him. The moment his voice came out, the whole room was instantly stunned. Xinyu was deeply moved by his singing too, and without realizing it, she became even more immersed in the duet. While they were singing together, the two of them even shared several deeply emotional looks. In the end, the song was scored an impressive 97 points. After that, Lu Lin also went up and sang thousands of songs. She earned a warm round of applause from everyone there as well. The group kept singing like that for a full 3 hours, and by 11 at night, everyone was finally too tired to continue. Seeing that everyone had basically hit their limit, Zhou Yuan smiled and suggested, "Let's call it a night. Everyone that will meet again another time." After coming out of KTV, the girls all couldn't help praising how good his singing had been. Zhou Yuan, meanwhile, went ahead to settle the bill first and asked the others to wait outside for a bit. At that moment, Su Qing quietly followed after him again and asked if he really had no plans to write novels anymore. Zhou Yuan, however, only responded with disdain, "I'm a businessman now." What he wanted to build in the future was a complete business empire. Hearing that, Su Qing outwardly thought he was just showing off, yet deep down she strangely felt happy about it. After all, now that she had been given a second chance, she was destined to shine brilliantly in the field of architecture and design. When that day came, she would definitely make Zhou Yuan fall for her all over again. Thinking that, Su Qing suddenly leaned in and kissed Zhou Yuan in a sneak attack. Caught completely off guard, Zhou Yuan was so startled that he stared at her in shock. "We agreed to start as friends. What exactly are you doing?" But Su Qing had finally recaptured some of that reckless, youthful spirit, and she laughed. "Think of it as cheering on the future business tycoon in advance. Let's both work hard, classmate Zhou." Meanwhile, After the KTV session ended, the four girls also made their way back to the dorm together. After Li Chang's relentless pestering, Lu Lin finally caved and gave him her contact information. After taking a shower, Lu Lin walked out of the bathroom, wrapped in a towel, ready to go straight to bed. But Zhang Yinyan reminded her that her phone had been ringing the whole time and that it was probably Li Chang looking for her again. Lu Lin picked up her phone and checked, and sure enough, the message was from him. At that point, Zhang Yinyan very helpfully reminded her that the guy had originally been planning to go after Xinyu. Compared to Zhou Yuan, he really wasn't even close. The moment Zhou Yuan's name came up, Lu Lin also couldn't help curiously asking, "Are you close to him?" Speaking of that, Zhang Yinyan really did know quite a bit. She casually said, "Zhou Yuan has already made 30,000 just from selling campus SIM cards by himself. On top of that, he was also the campus general agent, which meant he was bringing in at least 150,000 a month." That Lu Lin looked calm on the surface, but inwardly, that number still shook her heart. At that moment, Xinyu also came out after washing up. Seeing the two of them chatting so enthusiastically, she immediately wanted to join in as well. The moment she heard that they were talking about Zhou Yuan, Xinyu became visibly more alert and engaged. With a little happiness she couldn't quite hide, she said that at the KTV earlier, singing together with Zhou Yuan had made her really happy. Seeing that, Zhang Yinyan instantly gave her a teasing grin. "Maybe Zhou Yuan should just become your boyfriend then?" Xinyu had been immersed in those sweet little fantasies. So when Su Qing suddenly appeared and asked, "What are you two whispering about?" she was startled badly. Xinyu immediately panicked and could only hurriedly say, "It's nothing." After saying that, she tried to escape by heading for the bathroom, but Su Qing only watched her coldly. In truth, Su Qing had already heard everything just now. So with a frosty expression, she repeated it directly. "You were saying that Zhou Yuan would make a very good boyfriend, weren't you?" Xinyu hesitated for a brief moment, but in the end, she still gathered her courage and admitted it honestly. "I really do seem to have started liking Zhou Yuan too. After all, none of them were actually together with Zhou Yuan yet, so naturally everyone had an equal right to compete." Finally, she said firmly, "No matter who Zhou Yuan chooses in the end, I'm willing to accept it." Those words made Su Qing furious inside, but she simply had no grounds to argue back. In the end, all she could do was coldly toss out a single, "Whatever." Then she turned around, switched off the light, and went to sleep. Right before bed, Zhang Yinyan deliberately exaggerated what had happened at the KTV, turning Zhou Yuan's accidental bump into a story about him purposely copying a feel. What annoyed her, though, was that not a single person in the dorm actually believed her. That made Zhang Yinyan so mad that she started muttering that one day she would snatch Zhou Yuan away and leave the rest of them with nothing to play with. Meanwhile, hiding under her blanket, Xinyu quietly sent Zhou Yuan a message and shared a song with him, saying, "This song sounds really nice." But the moment she sent it, she got nervous herself, worried that her opening line had been too wordy, and even more worried that Zhou Yuan might not reply at all. To her surprise, Zhou Yuan answered very quickly with just one simple line. "If you have time, we can go sing at KTV together sometime." The moment she saw that reply, Xinyu became wildly excited. She couldn't help wondering whether Zhou Yuan maybe liked her at least a little too. At the same time, back in the boys' dorm, Zhou Yuan's novel had already successfully climbed onto the rankings by borrowing from the classic formulas he remembered from his previous life. From here on out, all he really had to do was lie back and wait for the money to roll in. Just then, a new friend request notification popped up on his phone that IT was from Lu Lin. Looking at it, Zhou Yuan couldn't help feeling puzzled. What was going on tonight? One after another, girls kept showing up to find him. Had his charm really gone up after being reborn? But the moment he accepted the request, Lu Lin immediately sent him a message, and the very first thing she said was that she wanted to borrow 2,000 from him. Even more shocking, she then sent him a body-showing photo and bluntly said, "As long as you lend me the money, I can be your girlfriend." That move completely stunned Zhou Yuan. Staring at the photo, he couldn't help muttering inwardly that this woman was clearly trying to sleep with him under the excuse of borrowing money. Nice try. Early the next morning, once the weekend was over, the freshmen were all dragged back into the misery of military training again. But Zhou Yuan was very obviously not one of them. Holding his leave slip, he was lounging in the infirmary, eating fried chicken and absent-mindedly staring out the window. He didn't notice at all that a small hand had quietly reached over from the side and was stealing his fries. By the time he noticed, he nearly jumped out of his skin. Looking closely, he realized it was Zhang Yinyan, who had somehow snuck in without him noticing. Zhou Yuan quickly moved to protect the food in his hands, but Zhang Yinyan immediately threatened with absolute confidence. If you don't share, I'll go call the instructor." And after saying that, she didn't even wait. She just reached in and started snatching food herself. In the middle of the struggle, she climbed all over him without caring at all about the line between men and women. In the end, Zhou Yuan simply couldn't outlast her and had no choice but to surrender some of the fries. Every time he ran into Zhang Yinyan, Zhou Yuan felt completely helpless. He was seriously starting to suspect that she had planned this whole thing in advance just to trap him. While munching on the fries, Zhang Yinyan leaned over to his ear and softly threatened, "You better bring me a KFC family bucket tonight too, or else I'll tell Su Qing that you touched me all over at the KTV." The second she said that, Zhou Yuan immediately denied it. "When exactly did I ever touch you like that?" But Zhang Yinyan didn't care in the slightest. She just called him a scumbag and rattled off the list. He was flirting with Su Qing, teasing Shunyu, and even getting tangled up with Lu Lin that if she said he had touched her, then he had touched her. Then, halfway through talking, Zhang Yinyan suddenly seemed to think of something else. She immediately looked at Zhou Yuan with narrowed, suspicious eyes and asked, "Are you planning to sweep up our whole dorm in one net?" Then she added another jab. "Can your skinny little body even handle that?" Zhou Yuan looked completely helpless and could only explain, "I really have nothing going on with Lu Lin. She just keeps coming to me to borrow money, like she's in some sort of trouble." But no matter how much he explained, Zhang Yinyan didn't believe a word of it. In the end, she simply threw 200 at him and told him to buy KFC for her that night because she wanted to treat her roommates. Looking at that spoiled, willful side of her, Zhou Yuan suddenly found himself thinking that if he looked at it from another angle, this girl was actually pretty cute. That same night, Zhang Yinyan successfully brought the KFC back to the dorm. The moment the girls in the dorm saw the food, they all rushed over immediately. Meanwhile, over in the boys' dorm, Zhou Yuan had also casually brought a few burgers back for his own roommates. Just as everyone was happily eating, Lu Yuhang suddenly received a message. Zhang Yinyan's dorm got reported for secretly eating, and now the instructor is making them stand outside as punishment. The moment that news came out, everyone in the dorm froze, and Zhou Yuan got up almost instantly, heading over to check on them. By the time he reached the entrance to the girls' dorm, the instructor was indeed standing there scolding the four girls and demanding in a hard voice, "Who exactly brought this food in?" At the critical moment, Zhang Yinyan actually showed some real loyalty and stepped forward, saying, "If anyone has to be punished, it should just be me alone." But just as the situation was about to spin out of control, Zhou Yuan arrived in time and raised his voice, calling out, "Report, instructor, but I'm the one who gave them the food." When the instructor demanded a reason, Zhou Yuan actually answered with a completely straight face, "Because the girl I like lives in that dorm." The moment those words came out, every girl there turned to stare at him in shock. The instructor clearly hadn't expected that kind of answer either. After freezing for a second, he immediately asked, "Then who exactly is it?" A flash of unconcealed anticipation instantly rose on Su Qing's face. In her heart, she was almost certain that the person Zhou Yuan meant had to be her. But to everyone's surprise, Zhou Yuan raised his hand and pointed at someone else. Su Qing had originally thought he was about to point at her, but instead Zhou Yuan directly pointed at Zhang Yinyan. That one move completely stunned everyone present. Once she realized what he was doing, Zhang Yinyan didn't hesitate at all and immediately played along, saying, "That's right, I asked my boyfriend to bring me some food. Did I ask there a problem?" Standing to the side, Chang Hao regretted it so badly his intestines practically turned green. He could only think that if he had stepped forward first, things would have been different. Right after that, the instructor took Zhou Yuan and Zhang Yinyan straight to the dean's office, stating, "Sneaking snacks during military training and openly disregarding discipline is something that must be seriously dealt with." On the surface, the dean naturally put on a very angry face and even assured the instructor that they would definitely be punished severely. But the moment the instructor left, his tone softened at once. In his eyes, secretly eating a little snack really wasn't something worth making such a huge deal over. So in the end, he only assigned each of them a 1,000-word self-criticism. Zhou Yuan quickly smiled and thanked the dean for being generous. But Zhang Yinyan panicked on the spot, because writing an 800-word essay already gave her headaches, let alone a 2,000-word reflection. After they left the office, Zhang Yinyan's attitude toward Zhou Yuan had obviously changed, while Zhou Yuan immediately took the chance to ask her to write his share of the self-criticism too. "After all, I'm the one who stepped forward and took the blame for you today." To his surprise, Zhang Yinyan didn't get angry at all over a request like that. Instead, she turned to him with a sweet, innocent look and asked, "Want to seriously consider becoming my boyfriend for real?" Before Zhou Yuan could even react, she had already grabbed his collar and yanked him downward. The next second, a soft and sweet kiss landed right on Zhou Yuan's lips. It lasted for only a light moment before Zhang Yinyan stepped back again. But Zhou Yuan was still trapped in the lingering sensation, unable to snap back immediately. Honestly, this woman really knew how to flirt. Before leaving, she even deliberately blew him a kiss, then turned and ran back to the dorm. The next day, after military training ended, Zhang Yinyan had waited in the infirmary for the whole day without seeing Zhou Yuan once. She grew increasingly irritated and simply called him, demanding, "You touched me and kissed me. Are you really planning not to take responsibility?" The moment she learned that Zhou Yuan was outside campus handling business, her tone instantly shifted and she immediately told him, "Bring me back a cola on your way." The second the call ended, Zhang Yinyan was startled by Su Qing, who had somehow appeared behind her without warning. It was obvious that Su Qing had heard every word of that conversation. With a cold expression, she stated directly, "Zhou Yuan will never like your type." But Zhang Yinyan was exactly the kind of girl who refused to lose. She immediately shot back arrogantly, "Who can say? Maybe Zhou Yuan happens to like my type best." Just then, Xin Yu also walked over. Seeing that everyone was already there, Zhang Yinyan simply announced on the spot, "From now on, I am officially joining the competition for Zhou Yuan." No sooner had she said that than Zhou Yuan's call came in right on cue, telling her to come downstairs and get her cola. The moment Zhang Yinyan came down, she immediately praised Zhou Yuan, saying, "You're actually really thoughtful." And the second she realized that the other girls in the dorm were probably spying from upstairs, Zhang Yinyan directly wrapped herself around Zhou Yuan's arm and started acting spoiled. She even invited Zhou Yuan upstairs to sit for a while, but he turned her down immediately, saying he was meeting someone else soon. And just as Zhang Yinyan asked who it was, that person arrived right on cue. The one walking toward them was none other than the cold, icy beauty Lu Lin, and she was exactly the person Zhou Yuan had been talking about. The two then went to a small grove near the girls' dorm, where Zhou Yuan handed her an envelope containing money, saying, "Here is the 2,000 you asked to borrow." Lu Lin accepted the money, but there was very little excitement on her face. She only softly said thank you. Then, just as they had agreed before, she stated, "From now on, I am your girlfriend." She even went a step further and added, "If you can't sleep at night, you can come find me anytime, and my first time is still intact." In fact, Li Chong had previously also approached her and offered to lend her money, but she had refused him. After all, she was not willing to accept just anybody. In the blink of an eye, freshman military training ended, and the school soon organized a welcome gala. Finally free of that miserable period, everyone was naturally thrilled, and the whole atmosphere was loud, chaotic, and full of playful horseplay. Chong Hao had it worst out of all of them, because the others actually lifted him up and rammed him into a tree trunk. Meanwhile, acting as host, Su Qing held the microphone and formally announced the start of the evening program. Next, please enjoy a duet dance performance. Amid the wildly enthusiastic cheers of the boys in the audience, Zhang Yinyan and Lu Lin stepped into the spotlight together, performing the hottest Korean-style dance of the moment. Both girls had figures that could only be described as top tier, and once they started moving with the music, the fiery, magnetic energy they gave off pushed the atmosphere in the entire venue straight to its peak. After the performance, a bunch of male classmates rushed up, some offering flowers, some wanting to exchange contacts, but both girls had their eyes set on him, so they made all sorts of excuses to reject them. After getting off stage, Lu Lin went to change clothes. Meanwhile, Zhang Yinyan immediately found him. Seeing him chatting enthusiastically with Shunyu, she asked, "What are you talking about?" Shunyu had her own little thoughts, stuttering and saying, "Nothing." Thinking back to a week ago, when she invited him to sing together on stage, she specially gave him a bag of cookies she made herself. He had a pretty good impression of Shunyu, especially since she had even given him a gift, so he agreed without hesitation. Then Zhang Yinyan asked him, did she dance well? His intentions weren't really focused on the dance, so he stared at her figure and replied, "Pretty pale and fair." Seeing this, Zhang Yinyan laughed and couldn't stop grinning, just as Xinyu couldn't stand it anymore and left. She then asked him if he liked her. After getting the answer she wanted, she pulled out her phone playfully and asked, "Want to see something different?" He said no, but his body was clearly honest. He couldn't help but lean in out of curiosity to see what she wanted to show him. When Zhang Yinyan opened the video, it was actually their private rehearsal version, much bolder than the one they performed on stage. For a moment, it made him feel a little excited. When he wanted to see it again, Zhang Yinyan refused, saying, "Agree to be my boyfriend, and I'll dance it for you in private." Just then, Chong Hao slowly walked over by the field, clutching his vitals. They had played a bit too rough, causing Chanha to end up in the infirmary and miss the opening dance entirely. Suddenly, he noticed something. He saw his beloved goddess chatting and laughing happily with Zhou Yuan, looking completely sweet. Shouting no, Chanhao's legs gave way as he knelt on the ground, and with a tragic BGM playing in his heart, he mourned bitterly. Just as he was chatting with Zhang Yinyan, Su Qing found him, saying that for the next program, he was to sing a duet with Shunyu. Zhang Yinyan was surprised by this. "Why didn't you tell me you're singing with Shunyu?" Caught off guard by her question, he responded, "Who are you? Why should I report to you?" Following his words, Zhang Yinyan hugged his arm and acted spoiled. "I'm your girlfriend, of course." This scene made Su Qing gnash her teeth in anger, frantically trying to force herself to stay calm inside. Speaking of Shunyu, Zhang Yinyan was a bit upset. "I didn't hear her mention asking you to sing together in the dorm." To this, he asked, "You guys talk about me in the dorm?" Su Qing chimed in from the side, "I certainly didn't, and I've already decided to give up on him." Upon hearing this, Zhang Yinyan was thrilled. "Does that mean you're going to give Zhou Yuan to me?" Feeling a little flushed from being rubbed against, he stood up and said, "I'm not dealing with your nonsense anymore. I'm going to go get ready." Su Qing stubbornly said, "Yes, I've given up on him." But upon hearing the stage introduction that he was going to sing the song, Because of Love with Shun Yu, both girls were shocked at the same time. These two were actually going to sing a love song at the gala. Their duet sounded amazing, and coupled with their handsome and beautiful appearance, it immediately made the freshmen envy them. They really looked good together. Listening to the cheers of kiss each other around them, Zhang Yinyan's anger kept rising. On the other side, Chanhao felt relieved by the sight. As long as it wasn't with Zhang Yinyan, old Zhou could sing with anyone. However, when Zhang Yinyan also walked up on stage, Chanhao's expression froze. He saw her holding a bouquet of flowers, handing them to him while complimenting Shun Yu's singing. Then she leaned close to him and whispered, "Zhou Yuan, are you feeling proud? Not rejecting me, but flirting with Shun Yu. Are you trying to win over our entire dormitory?" Before he could say anything, she grabbed his collar and huffed, "I won't let you have your way." As soon as she finished, Zhang Yinyan kissed him in front of everyone. The entire venue was in an uproar. A love triangle. This is too explosive. Meanwhile, Chanhao was heartbroken. Collapsing on the ground, he'd been tirelessly chasing Zhang Yinyan, only to end up with nothing. After stepping off the stage, he felt awkward, while Zhang Yinyan was overjoyed, thinking, "Let's see how you continue with your flirting from now on." After this scene, Shunyu became the joke, with everyone discussing how she was the third party, inviting someone else's boyfriend on stage to sing a love song. At this time, Zhang Yinyan leaned happily against him. He wanted to bring Shunyu over to take a photo together, but Shunyu kept a cold face the whole time and, citing feeling unwell, turned and walked away. To his surprise, Zhang Yinyan chased after her, grabbing her and asking, "Didn't we agree to compete for Zhou Yuan based on our abilities? Why are you flipping out now that I won?" At that moment, Shunyu didn't want to talk to her, thinking, is kissing a guy in public without confirming a relationship really something to be proud of? In fact, Zhang Yinyan also felt a bit uneasy about what she had done, but since she had already committed, she knew opportunities had to be seized by herself. The freshman party went smoothly and ended. On the playground, Zhang Yinyan insisted on taking a walk with him, asking while walking, "Shun Yu, Su Qing, and I, who do you feel most connected with?" To which he casually said, "Shun Yu." Zhang Yinyan immediately refuted, "Liar, just now with so many people, you clearly accepted it." He then replied, "If I rejected you publicly, how would you step down from that stage?" With a look of "I know" on her face as she looked at him, Zhang Yinyan seemed happier. "That means you still have feelings for me." During their walk, they met a group of people playing guitar. Among them was an old acquaintance, Chen Wan, who came over to greet him when she saw him. Chen Wan was the vice president of the student union, and he introduced the two of them to each other. Since she heard him sing well at the party, Chen Wan invited him to sing a song for everyone. Seniors and juniors also spoke up and encouraged him to sing a song. He couldn't refuse the hospitality, so he took the guitar and played a song, with a beautiful accompaniment of Sunny Day and his magnetic voice. Everyone was immediately captivated, praising how good it sounded. Zhang Yinyan became more convinced that she hadn't made the wrong choice. Chen Wan then teased, "So, do you like your boyfriend more now?" After the song ended, a hot senior girl caught his attention. "Hello, Junior. I'm Tao Tian, the head of the Literary Arts Club. Your singing is amazing. Would you consider joining the club? I can give you special approval." He vaguely remembered Tao Tian in his past life as a prominent figure in the school beauty rumors. Wanting to avoid unnecessary trouble, he politely declined, saying he was new to the school and needed some time to think. Tao Tian didn't push further, handing him a business card and walking away. Facing such a beautiful senior hitting on him, Zheng Yinyin immediately felt a sense of crisis. Taking advantage of being alone with him, she directly said, "Let's be together." Seeing him stare at her without saying anything, Zheng Yinyin became anxious and insisted that she was serious. Just now, after Zheng Yinyin repeatedly teased him, he lost control. As he moved closer, the once playful look on her face turned into a blush. After all, a man's patience has its limits. Caught off guard, he leaned in and kissed her. It was the most impulsive moment since his reincarnation. Unexpectedly, the goddess his roommate Chang Hao had chased for 4 years in his previous life was now easily taken by him. It lasted for nearly 10 minutes before he released her. He teased, "Didn't you always ask me if I'm soft? Now's your chance to find out." At that moment, Zheng Yinyin was both embarrassed and furious. Seeing him still making jokes, she immediately bit his hand without saying another word. At that moment, they officially became a couple. Zheng Yinyin couldn't wait to take a photo of them holding hands and was ready to post it on her social feed tonight. Meanwhile, in the girls' dormitory, Su Qing was lecturing the innocent Shen Yu, saying, "I've told you before, Zhou Yuan isn't right for you. As long as they are good-looking and take the initiative, he simply can't refuse them." Hearing this, Shen Yu couldn't help but ask, "What about you? Have you really given up?" Su Qing replied, "It's different for me. Zhou Yuan and I are destined. Whether it's you or Zheng Yinyin, it's just fate that wasn't meant to be." Although seeing the scene of Zheng Yinyin kissing him on stage was hard, it paled in comparison to the time after her divorce in the past life when she caught him in bed with another woman. "I'll just treat it as punishment for my impulsive divorce." Su Qing firmly believed that as long as she was good enough, Zhou Yuan would eventually come back to her. It was getting late, and Su Qing fell asleep, but Shen Yu continued to stare at Zheng Yinyin's post, thinking to herself, "This world really is messed up." As his college life gradually got on track, relying on his past life memories of the stock market, Zhou Yuan earned over 2 million. After getting money, of course, the first thing to do was buy a car, then a house. Arriving at the dealership, the very first car that caught his eye was the latest BMW M4. This car was absolutely perfect for taking girls out for a spin. The sales manager saw Zhou Yuan as a naive kid, someone who clearly had no money and was just there to window shop. So she brushed him off and let a new employee handle the reception. However, the new employee didn't think that way. Although he was dressed simply, his aura was incredibly steady. She enthusiastically introduced the car to him. The test drive was also very considerate, and she even took the initiative to buckle his seatbelt for him. Seeing this, Zhou Yuan didn't hesitate any longer and directly pulled out his bank card to pay in full. The new employee was ecstatic, while the manager, standing nearby, regretted her choice so much her intestines practically turned green. Luckily, the shop had the car in stock, and after spending an afternoon completing the paperwork, the BMW and its keys were successfully in his hands. With the car sorted out, it was time for a house. Housing prices weren't that ridiculous yet, so getting a large one was more than enough. After settling everything, it was finally time to go meet his little wildcat. By the time he picked up Zheng Yinyin, it was already evening. She excitedly took photos, ready to show off on her social feed. In reality, her main goal was simply to mark her territory. She was fully satisfied after seeing the replies from her roommates in the comment section. Zhou Yuan had originally planned to invite her over to check out the new house, but Zheng Yinyin instantly saw through his scheme and said with a sweet smile, "Staying out all night is a no-go." Seemingly afraid he might get upset, she decided to give him a little sweetness first and took the initiative to offer a kiss. Guessing what the little girl was thinking, he didn't hold back either and responded with expert familiarity. Gradually, Zheng Yinyin realized something was wrong. His seasoned technique was becoming a bit too much for her to handle. Yelling for him to stop, she quickly pushed him away, and with a blushing face, she declared she was heading back to the dorm. Left with no other choice, he could only escort her back. Once back home, Zhou Yuan checked his account and realized his balance was running low. It seemed he needed to hurry up and start a company for long-term development. It was getting late when Lu Lin suddenly sent him a message. It turned out their previous transaction wasn't finished yet, and she had come looking for him to fulfill her promise. Figuring she had probably spent most of that 2,000, she wanted to borrow more. As a joke, Zhou Yuan sent her his address, but to his absolute shock, Lu Lin actually showed up. He was genuinely stunned. This girl was seriously bold, but since she was already here, he had no choice but to let her inside first. As Zhou Yuan had expected, Lu Lin was out of money, and this time she directly asked for 4,000, saying that taking care of her would be much easier than taking care of Zhang Yinyan. Facing Lu Lin, Zhou Yuan really didn't understand what she was thinking, but he was burning with desire right now for real. After washing up and changing into a red pajama set, Lu Lin's beauty was every bit as striking as Zhang Yinyan's. For a moment, Zhou Yuan was stunned. Moreover, her little feet were restless, completely unaware of the beast standing in front of her. Thinking about it, if a little girl wasn't afraid, why should a grown man like Zhou Yuan be scared? Tonight was destined to be a sleepless night, and he finally got back the feeling he had when he was younger. Over the next 2 weeks, Zhou Yuan went to Macau and then returned to school to join the Literary Arts Club, where they were rehearsing for the welcome gala. The head of the club, Tao Tian, was angry at Zhang Yinyan for being late repeatedly. If it weren't for Qin Wan's face, she wouldn't have agreed to let Zhang Yinyan join at all. After waiting impatiently, Zhang Yinyan finally arrived. It turned out she had gone specifically to pick up Zhou Yuan. Having met Tao Tian once before, he greeted her warmly. Tao Tian had a good impression of Zhou Yuan, but when it came to Zhang Yinyan, she still didn't intend to let her off, saying that being late would come with a penalty. Thinking of the labor company his good friend Lu Shua had set up, he immediately took out his phone to add her as a friend. Zhou Yuan had a number of modeling part-time jobs and suggested creating a group chat in their department, so they could all make money together. After adding each other, Tao Tian accidentally noticed Zhou Yuan's social feed. It turned out he really had just returned from Macau. Tao Tian marveled inwardly. So he's actually a rich second generation. What a pity he already has a girlfriend. After setting up the group, Zhou Yuan sent a large red envelope in it, and the girls in the Literary Arts Club were immediately fired up, with many teasingly asking him to become their sugar daddy. After a while, the rehearsal ended. Zhang Yinyan dragged Zhou Yuan, wanting to go see the new house, and this time she was planning to bring her roommates along for a tour. Knowing her little scheme to show off, he simply went along with it. It didn't take long for them to reach the entrance, and the moment they saw it, they were stunned. This was none other than Lawn Garden, one of the most exclusive luxury communities in the city. Su Qing was the one hit the hardest by the sight that in their previous life. A place like this had been worth 6 million. Back when she and Zhou Yuan were married, she had wanted a home here too, but they simply couldn't afford it. That thought made Su Qing's cheeks flush. A wild idea rose in her chest. Could it be that Zhou Yuan bought this place for her? Once they stepped inside, the girls were even more shaken. Not only was the decor lavish, but the apartment itself was a massive flat of more than 200 square meters. It even came with its own gym. And even the balcony had been designed with real taste. That moment, Zhang Yinyan was completely head over heels for Zhou Yuan. Since he had just come back from Macau, Zhou Yuan had brought gifts for all of them. Seeing everyone gathered together, he simply handed them out on the spot. Luxury handbags, high-end cosmetics, the whole package. Xin Yu thanked him with a cold face, though the meaning underneath was obvious enough. She was benefiting from his generosity. Zhang Yinyan, on the other hand, was all smiles and kept telling everyone not to be shy. She even pulled out a lipstick and tried to give it to Lu Lin, but Lu Lin refused without so much as a glance, saying she hardly ever wore makeup anyway. Since Lu Lin had already visited the apartment a few days earlier, she decided to head out after that. Xin Yu also said she didn't want to intrude any longer and would leave first. Before leaving, she looked at Zhou Yuan and thanked him sincerely. Zhou Yuan just smiled and said there was no need to be so formal among friends. As he said that, Zhang Yinyan took the chance to stake her claim, smiling as she added, "Come by anytime, that my boyfriend definitely won't mind." Su Qing, however, was full of complicated thoughts. Everything in this place looked almost exactly like the future she and Zhou Yuan had once dreamed about together, and she couldn't help wondering if this was his way of making up for the regrets they once shared. After everyone else had left, Su Qing alone stayed behind and said she wanted to talk to Zhou Yuan in private. Zhang Yinyan immediately shut that down. Half teasing and half serious, she said, "Miss Su, cut it out that I'm still the official girlfriend standing right here." Zhou Yuan made his stance clear in front of Zhang Yinyan too. He said there was nothing between him and Su Qing that needed a private talk, and he had no intention of making his girlfriend misunderstand. Left with no choice, Su Qing could only leave for now, though she had already made up her mind to get to the bottom of it sooner or later. In an especially good mood, Zhang Yinyan flopped onto the sofa, listening to music while imagining how wonderful it would feel to live here in the future. Right then, Zhou Yuan suddenly sat down beside Zhang Yinyan, his eyes full of mischief as he leaned closer and asked, "It's been a while. Did you miss me?" As he spoke, he slowly moved toward her. Zhang Yinyan clearly sensed what was about to happen next. The very next second, the two of them were locked in a deep kiss. Alone together in a room, Zhang Yinyan instantly became so nervous she was practically at her limit. Just as Zhou Yuan was about to lose control, Zhang Yinyan suddenly shoved him away. Her fair skin had already turned pink, and with a flushed face, she softly admitted, "I'm still not ready to go any further. Once the 3 months are up, I promise I will give you what you want." As a mature man, Zhou Yuan did not push the issue. He simply agreed without making things difficult for her. Time passed quickly, and Zhang Yinyan spent almost every day rehearsing dance routines. One day, Tao Tian suddenly came to Zhou Yuan and said she wanted to speak with him alone. Apparently, quite a few girls in the literary arts club had already made money through the part-time jobs he introduced, so now she wanted a better-paying one too. Whether it was her looks or her figure, Tao Tian was basically flawless. In response, Zhou Yuan directly offered her up to 300 a day, adding that this was a special treatment for her. That instantly put Tao Tian in a wonderful mood, and she invited Zhou Yuan to attend the literary arts club gathering on the spot. Since both Zhang Yinyan and Lu Lin were in the club, and everyone was already working side jobs through Zhou Yuan anyway, he had no real reason to refuse. The moment she saw his little girlfriend arrive, Tao Tian tactfully smiled and said she would head off first. But before leaving, she still secretly threw Zhou Yuan a flirtatious wink. What Zhang Yinyan could never have imagined was that while she had been guarding Zhou Yuan so carefully, refusing to let any other woman get close to him, her own best friend had already gotten there first, taking advantage of the gap, sneaking off almost every night to see Zhou Yuan in secret. The ridiculous part was that Zhang Yinyan was even trying to arrange for another guy to get close to Lu Lin, even inviting her to sing a duet. Zhou Yuan happened to witness that scene at the gathering, and his gaze instantly turned cold. He then turned to Tao Tian and asked, "Who is that guy?" After giving him a quick glance, Tao Tian casually replied, "He seems to be a sophomore, and his family is in business." She even reassured Zhou Yuan not to worry, since that guy's target was not Zhang Yinyan anyway. But then Zhou Yuan said something that made Tao Tian beam with delight. "Even if he really is after Zhang Yinyan, I don't care. Worst, if my girlfriend gets stolen away, I'll just turn around and chase you instead, senior." Even though Tao Tian verbally told him to stop teasing her like that, deep down she was thrilled, and she could not help thinking that dating this junior might actually be pretty nice. On the other side, that guy was still pestering Lu Lin, insisting on singing a Cantonese song with her no matter what. At that moment, Zhou Yuan suddenly picked up an unused microphone nearby and casually said, "Sing with me." When it came to music, nobody there could really beat him at as soon as the accompaniment started. Zhou Yuan opened first, and his beautiful voice instantly filled the room. In an instant, every girl in the private room turned to look at him. Watching the spotlight get stolen, the guy could do nothing about it. Zhou Yuan simply sang too well, and the poor guy was left standing there in a daze. Even Lu Lin was drawn in by it. She had rejected that guy earlier by saying she could not sing, yet now she unconsciously started singing along with Zhou Yuan. A thought even rose in her heart. Zhou Yuan really did care about her after all. Lu Lin did not sing badly either, and the people around them immediately started teasing, saying, "You two look perfect together." That made Zhang Yinyan furious. That guy had originally been sent over by her because she wanted to help her best friend find a boyfriend. She never expected it to end with her own boyfriend singing a love song with her friend instead. After the song ended, Tao Tian kept praising how well Zhou Yuan sang. Once they found out that Zhou Yuan was the boss who had been introducing part-time jobs to them, the other girls in the literary arts club became even more interested and rushed over asking to add his contact. Seeing things go wrong, Zhang Yinyan immediately stepped in to block them. There was no way she was letting anyone break through her defense line. Looking at how flustered Zhang Yinyan was, Tao Tian could not help teasing from aside. "You girls are silly, can't you just add him in secret?" The girls instantly looked enlightened and laughed, saying, "Senior, you're so bad." Zhang Yinyan was practically on the verge of tears from frustration. Since the private room felt too stuffy, Lu Lin ran out by herself to get some air. Unexpectedly, she had barely left before Zhou Yuan followed her out. Lu Lin was clearly upset inside, and Zhou Yuan saw right through it. So without another word, he reached out, grabbed her, and pulled her straight into his arms. As Zhou Yuan kissed her deeply, most of the jealousy in Lu Lin's heart instantly melted away. How could a 17 or 18-year-old girl possibly withstand the advances of a man like Zhou Yuan, someone who had lived through 2 lifetimes? Blushing, Lu Lin leaned against Zhou Yuan's chest, but Zhou Yuan suddenly said to her, "If you ever get a boyfriend someday, make sure you tell me." That move of turning the tables instantly caught Lu Lin off guard. Once she processed it and realized Zhou Yuan was actually jealous, she smiled and said, "As long as you have enough money, I'll definitely be more loyal than Yin Yin and Su Qing. The moment she finished speaking, Zhou Yuan pressed. So the only thing you care about is my money? Running her hand over Zhou Yuan's abs, Lu Lin leaned close to his ear and whispered, "Not entirely. What I value even more is your capability." That provocative line instantly sparked Zhou Yuan's interest. He replied directly, "In that case, come find me tonight. I'll go all out and let you feel it properly." Just as the two of them were getting into the conversation, Zhang Yinyan's voice suddenly called out Zhou Yuan's name from not far away. Both of them were startled and quickly pulled apart. Fortunately, Zhang Yinyan did not see any intimate moves. When she asked, Zhou Yuan simply said, "I just came out of the restroom, and Lu Lin came over to borrow a lighter from me." Zhang Yinyan did not think too much about it. She just told Zhou Yuan to head back to the private room first, saying, "I have a few things I want to say to Lu Lin alone." Lu Lin instantly felt a little nervous, wondering inwardly if Yin Yan had discovered something. After Zhou Yuan walked away, Zhang Yinyan asked angrily, "Why did you sing with Zhou Yuan just now?" Lu Lin shot back, "Weren't you the one who picked the song? When you arranged for that guy to approach me, you didn't even ask if I wanted it or not, did you?" Feeling guilty, Zhang Yinyan's tone immediately softened, saying, "I just wanted to help lighten the mood for you." Lu Lin coldly replied, "No need. Instead of bothering me, you should go ask Su Qing and see what exactly happened between her and Zhou Yuan before." After saying that, Lu Lin waved her hand, said she was tired, and left first to rest. And no matter how Zhang Yinyan tried to explain, Lu Lin would not listen anymore. Zhang Yinyan was left full of doubts. The Su Qing that Lu Lin mentioned, what exactly happened between her and Zhou Yuan? Meanwhile, on the other side, the exhibition center happened to need more than 20 models, paying 300 a day, so Zhou Yuan asked Hao Tian whether she was interested. While they were talking, Zhang Yinyan walked over to Zhou Yuan and said, "I'm not feeling well. I want to go back first." With no other choice, he could only leave with her. Hao Tian smiled on the surface as she sent them off, but inwardly she thought, couples who love showing off always break up fast. Zhou Yuan personally walked Zhang Yinyan all the way to the entrance of her dorm. Zhang Yinyan was clearly reluctant to part with him and kept clinging to him, asking for kisses. That scene just so happened to be seen by Su Qing, who was watering flowers on the balcony. After returning to the dorm, Zhang Yinyan did not see Lu Lin around, so she casually asked where she had gone. Su Qing replied in a hostile tone, "Who knows? Maybe since some people came back yelling they felt uncomfortable, she simply went out to get some air." Those words instantly set Zhang Yinyan off. She pointed at Su Qing and shouted, "What do you mean by that? You petty little person, are you the one secretly stirring trouble between me and Lu Lin behind my back?" Neither of them was willing to back down, and a full-blown fight was about to break out. Su Qing finally snapped as well, tearing off all pretense and sneering, "I was already with Zhou Yuan long ago." She even mocked Zhang Yinyan. "Why do you think that apartment was decorated so beautifully?" "Because that was originally the style Zhou Yuan and I discussed together in the past." Hearing that, Zhang Yinyan froze, still thinking Su Qing was talking nonsense. But what Su Qing said next completely shattered her defenses. Su Qing sneered, "I suppose Zhou Yuan is already very skilled with you by now, right? But all those tricks that make you blush and your heart race, I was the one who taught him those originally." Zhang Yinyan covered her ears and screamed in a breakdown, telling Su Qing to stop talking. But Su Qing still would not let her off, stabbing her deeper. "I'm the first woman who truly made Zhou Yuan happy, and you are just taking over my leftovers." The moment those words fell, Zhang Yinyan completely snapped and lunged at her. The two of them ended up fighting wildly in the dorm, tearing at clothes and pulling each other's hair. As things got more and more out of control, Xinyu finally could not watch any longer and rushed in to pull the two apart. But even then, Su Qing still would not stop. She even stated clearly and specifically exactly where Zhou Yuan had a mole on his body. Zhang Yinyan was so furious she looked ready to explode and shouted back, "So what if you dated him? You still broke up in the end. Right now, you're nothing but a woman nobody wants." The two of them traded insults back and forth like that until both were completely exhausted and finally stopped. Thinking back to the time she had spent with Zhou Yuan in her previous life, Su Qing found herself utterly unwilling to accept this, and no matter what, she had to find out whether Zhou Yuan, like her, was also someone who had time traveled back. The next day, after spending a pleasant evening with Lu Lin at the snack street near campus, Zhou Yuan pulled out a stack of cash and handed it to her. "Tea first." Lu Lin refused to take it. But under Zhou Yuan's insistence, she finally accepted it. In that moment, Lu Lin felt even more that Zhou Yuan was like the male lead from a novel. Who could resist a domineering CEO type who was handsome and strong in every way? Maybe because she was afraid of leaving a gold digger impression on him, Lu Lin only took 200 in the end and returned the rest like a tea that moment. Her smile really was beautiful. Zhou Yuan also quietly felt relieved. Luckily, he had not missed his chance with her. Meanwhile, outside the finance department classroom, Su Qing was already waiting at the door early in the morning to stop Zhou Yuan. As one of the campus belles, her appearance immediately sparked discussion among the girls in class. The hottest topic was the fight in their dorm last night, which seemed to have happened because of a boyfriend dispute involving someone named Zheng Yinyan. Chang Hao happened to hear all of this from the side. He was shocked, then abruptly stood up because the thing he cared about most was whether Zheng Yinyan was okay. At that moment, Zhou Yuan arrived at the classroom door and was stopped by Su Qing, who had clearly been waiting for him. Since there were too many people around, Su Qing did not say much there. She only said, "I have something to talk to you about in private." Once they reached a place with no one around, Su Qing spoke bluntly. "There are things I have to make clear. We never belonged to this era in the first place." Looking straight into Zhou Yuan's eyes, she asked, "You're my husband, and I'm your first love, right?" This was also the last time she was coming to him for an answer. Zhou Yuan fell silent for a moment, but in the end, he admitted it. There was no helping it. Paper could never fully wrap up fire. Now that things had come to this point, he did not want to hide it anymore. Yes, he really was Zhou Yuan. He looked at Su Qing with a complicated expression and said, "I stopped being your husband a long time ago. You are now nothing more than my ex-wife." Hearing him finally admit it, Su Qing froze and could not speak for a long time. She had always believed this was heaven giving them a second chance, a chance to make up for the regrets of not being able to stay together last time. From the way Su Qing was talking, it was obvious she wanted to remarry, but Zhou Yuan had no desire at all to step back into the grave called marriage. Her gaze dimmed as she cried out, "Everything changed after I was reborn." She had tried submitting her design work, only to have it torn apart as worthless. She had also tried buying Bitcoin, only to get scammed and lose the 5,000 she had borrowed from her mother. After hearing all of that, Zhou Yuan could only feel speechless. He could not help firing back. "Come on, lady, did you forget to bring your brain with you when you got reborn? First of all, this isn't the future that of course your current designs wouldn't be accepted right now. Second, you didn't even understand what Bitcoin was before running off to buy it. Calling you a money-scattering fairy wouldn't even be unfair. Heaven practically handed you free money and you still couldn't catch it. Weren't you supposed to be smart before?" Hearing him say that, Su Qing felt both angry and embarrassed inside. Sure enough, Zhou Yuan had not changed at all. His mouth was still as sharp and vicious as ever. Thinking of their old feelings, Zhou Yuan finally sighed and said, "Forget it. You just focus on studying first. When you reach your sophomore year, I will find a way to send you abroad for further study." This had been Su Qing's greatest regret in her previous life. She obviously had great talent in design, but because of money, she had missed that chance. By that point, Zhou Yuan made it clear once again, "We are already divorced, and both of us now have new lives. Since you've been given another chance at life, you should bravely pursue your own dreams and happiness." The next second, Su Qing could not hold it in anymore and threw herself into Zhou Yuan's arms, crying wildly. What hurt her most was that even though she had been given the ultimate regret medicine, she still could not get him back. Zhou Yuan could only comfort her the way he used to. Meanwhile, after learning that Su Qing had gone to meet Zhou Yuan alone, Zheng Yinyan anxiously kept calling him, but he never picked up. After more than 10 calls, Zhou Yuan finally answered on the phone. He openly admitted, "I'm talking to Su Qing about something right now." For a moment, Zheng Yinyan did not know what to say. In the end, she could only stammer, "I miss you." After asking for her location, Zhou Yuan said he would go pick her up. Only then did Zheng Yinyan finally feel satisfied after hanging up. But Chang Hao, standing to the side, was speechless and said, "Yinyan, is this really necessary? Just how great is Zhou Yuan that you have to lower yourself like this?" Zheng Yinyan shot him a glare and snapped back. "Which eye of yours saw me being pathetic? I'm not anything to you. So what gives you the right to lecture me?" Chang Hao originally wanted to say more, but before he could, Zheng Yinyan simply got up and left. The two of them kept tugging at each other all the way to the school gate, while Zheng Yinyan kept telling Chang Hao to stop following her. Right then, Zheng Yinyan quickly walked over to Zhou Yuan. Seeing that, Zhou Yuan did not say much. He simply told her to get in the car first and planned to take her to grab something to eat. But Zheng Yinyan was too upset to wait. She immediately demanded that Zhou Yuan explain what exactly was going on between him and Su Qing, saying, "If you can't explain it clearly, I'll ignore you from now on." Zhou Yuan was already in a bad mood himself, so he casually replied, We just knew each other before. It's nothing. But the moment Zheng Yinyin thought about what Su Qing had said the night before, tears instantly rolled down her face. After all, this was her first relationship. Seeing her cry, Zhou Yuan softened and gently said, "It's been so long already. Why are you still dwelling on it?" But unexpectedly, with a sharp smack, the hand he had just reached out was slapped away. Chang Hao stepped in righteously and demanded, "Why did you make Yin Yin cry? You clearly already have a girlfriend, yet you still mess around with other girls. As long as I'm around, don't you dare think you can bully Zheng Yin Yin." Hearing that, Zhou Yuan's face turned completely cold. He shot back. "It seems you two really are close. Since that's the case, you might as well just go talk to Chang Hao instead." Zheng Yin Yin stared at Zhou Yuan in shock. She clearly had not expected him to say something like that. Zhou Yuan only left behind one sentence. "We really should seriously think about our relationship." As soon as he said that, he stepped on the gas and drove off without looking back. Zheng Yin Yin completely panicked. She shouted Zhou Yuan's name over and over, but got no response at all. She wanted to chase after him, but Chang Hao grabbed her and stopped her. He hurriedly advised, "If you broke up, then so be it. That a jerk like Zhou Yuan isn't worth your effort." Realizing she could not catch up anymore, Zheng Yin Yin immediately turned her anger on Chang Hao, shouting, "If you hadn't suddenly shown up, Zhou Yuan would never have gotten angry and left." She even said bluntly, "Even if Zhou Yuan doesn't want me anymore, I will absolutely never end up with you." Seeing her cry harder and harder, Chang Hao panicked too and hurried to calm her down. I'll stop talking. But remembering Zhou Yuan's cold expression just now, Zheng Yin Yin cried and begged Chang Hao, "Please stop bothering me. I truly have no feelings for you at all." After saying that, Zheng Yin Yin ran off weeping uncontrollably. Furious, Chang Hao kicked a trash can by the roadside and cursed himself for being so pathetic. After returning to the dorm, Zheng Yin Yin quickly sent Zhou Yuan message after message, explaining that she had absolutely nothing to do with Chang Hao, but she still got no reply. The next day in class, she kept staring at her phone. When Lu Lin asked what was wrong, Zheng Yin only said, "Zhou Yuan is jealous of Chang Hao, so that's why he's ignoring me." Right after that, Zheng Yin Yin wanted to borrow her best friend's phone to message Zhou Yuan, but Lu Lin directly refused, saying, "I'm not getting involved in a relationship mess." Lu Lin also advised her, "If you miss him that much, just go find Zhou Yuan and clear things up in person." But after thinking about it, Zheng Yin gave up, thinking to herself, "If I don't make the first move, and Zhou Yuan doesn't either, then we'll just stay stuck like this for now." That night, Zheng Yin Yin wanted to drag her best friend out to the supermarket with her, but she got rejected again. That Lu Lin only said, "I'm going out to play games online." But that night, Lu Lin really did go out. The only difference was that she did not go to an internet cafe. She went straight to Zhou Yuan's place instead. Neither of them really had their mind on games. So before long, the atmosphere turned openly intimate. Thinking that Zhou Yuan had probably been in a bad mood these past 2 days, Lu Lin was especially compliant with him. The next morning, Lu Lin was so exhausted that she did not even want to get up. Meanwhile, Zhou Yuan stared at the rise in Bitcoin and smiled to himself. IT had not disappointed him at all. In less than a week, it had already climbed past 6 million, and on top of that, his novel was also doing well. So making tens of millions after a little more time really would not be a problem. Just then, his phone rang. Zhou Yuan casually answered it, only to find that it was Manager Zhao, saying the exhibition center needs part-time workers tomorrow. They needed quite a lot of people, and because the event was fairly large, Zhou Yuan quickly contacted Lu Shuo and Tao Tian to make arrangements in advance. The next day, Tao Tian and the others were already waiting at the entrance of the exhibition center early in the morning. During that time, quite a few men came over trying to flirt and asked for a number, but every single one of them was politely turned down. Not long after, Zhou Yuan arrived too and greeted them with a wave. This part-time job paid a full 400 a day, so when the girls from the Literary Arts Club saw Zhou Yuan, they looked as happy as if they had just seen the god of wealth himself. Tao Tian was even more direct. Wearing a low-cut blouse, she leaned right up against Zhou Yuan that on the surface, she was asking him to check whether one of her eyelashes had fallen off. But in reality, she was clearly showing off her figure. The girls nearby noticed their little interaction right away and immediately started complaining. "So we're just here to be third wheels, huh?" Not long after that, Lu Shuo arrived with his guys. The moment they came over, they all greeted him in unison with a loud, "Morning, Brother Zhou." The scene was way too loud, so Zhou Yuan quickly stopped them and went over to Lu Shuo, reminding him, "We are running a legitimate staffing company. Next time, don't make an entrance like some gangster movie." Once almost everyone had arrived, Manager Zhao also walked over and shook hands with Zhou Yuan. Right after that, Manager Zhao arranged for Tao Tian and the others to get their makeup done and change clothes. Once everything was ready, Manager Zhao looked very satisfied with Zhou Yuan's work and said, "As long as today goes smoothly, President Wan will definitely give you a big bonus envelope." Zhou Yuan thanked President Wan in advance. After Manager Zhao left, Zhou Yuan casually asked Tao Tian how it felt and whether she was getting used to it. Tao Tian said everything else was fine, except the outfit was way too tight and uncomfortable. Looking at her overly impressive figure, Zhou Yuan blurted out, "Maybe it's not the clothes are too small. Maybe you're just too big." In order to win over this junior she had clearly been thinking about for a while, Tao Tian even secretly brought over tea worth more than 2,000 to give Zhou Yuan. Looking at her flirtatious gaze, Zhou Yuan could not help teasing, "Isn't this basically an inside job?" But Tao Tian was not scared at all. Instead, she deliberately softened her voice and asked, "Then how is Boss Zhou planning to punish me?" Just as Zhou Yuan was about to lose ground under her flirtation, a foreign guest suddenly asked Tao Tian in English whether she could explain the history of that tea. Tao Tian instantly panicked and could only stammer out in English, "It is a very good tea." Inside, she was basically screaming for help. Simple conversation was one thing, but explaining the history of tea in English was way beyond her. At the critical moment, Zhou Yuan stepped in and smoothly took over, explaining everything with confidence and fluent English. After listening to the full explanation, the foreign guest was clearly very satisfied and even thanked Zhou Yuan personally. The other girls doing part-time work saw the whole thing too. They looked at him with obvious admiration and said to Tao Tian, "This junior is seriously impressive. Not only did he stay calm under pressure, but his English is so fluent too." After sending the guest off, Zhou Yuan told the senior girls to keep working for a bit and said he would have milk tea and snacks brought over for them to fill their stomachs. Faced with how considerate Zhou Yuan was, one of Tao Tian's close friends could not help teasing her. "If you don't make a move on such a high-quality junior, I won't be able to hold back anymore." Tao Tian stubbornly insisted, "Stop joking around, he's already taken." Right then, the black foreigner friend from earlier wanted to go buy tea, so Zhou Yuan personally took him over. Before leaving, he specifically told Lu Shua to deliver the milk tea and band-aids first, and said they could collect a meal allowance from Manager Zhao later. On the way there, Zhou Yuan thoughtfully introduced local food to his black friend, and the two of them chatted happily. When they got to the tea counter, Zhou Yuan asked about the price and learned that the white tea was 3,000 a box. He immediately translated the price into English for the other party. Unexpectedly, the guy did not think it was expensive at all and directly asked for 10 boxes. The shop owner's eyes lit up the moment she heard that, looking at him as if she had just spotted a walking wallet. She made quite a bit from that order, so she happily pulled Zhou Yuan aside and stuffed a red envelope into his hand. The exhibition lasted until 5 in the afternoon. After a full day of running around, the part-time job finally came to an end. The senior girls were all thanking Zhou Yuan for sending over the band-aids, saying their feet would have been destroyed otherwise. Everyone joked that they were going to compete with Tao Tian over Zhou Yuan, while Tao Tian kept stubbornly emphasizing he already has a girlfriend. Right then, Lu Shua happened to walk into the lounge and shouted directly at Tao Tian, "Boss's lady, have you seen my brother?" After Lu Shua left, everyone in the room turned to stare at Tao Tian and started teasing her. "And here you were saying he already has a girlfriend. So you were secretly hooking up with him behind the scenes all along?" After a whole exhausting day, Zhou Yuan finally came over carrying everyone's pay. He handed all the money to Tao Tian and asked her to distribute it. Everyone got 430, and the extra 30 was the meal allowance for Manager Zhao. Once everything had been arranged, Manager Zhao invited Zhou Yuan to attend the dinner banquet hosted by President Wan that evening, and casually added, "You can bring your girlfriend along too." Seeing that the other side had misunderstood things, Tao Tian did not explain this time. Instead, she looked at Zhou Yuan excitedly and said that she also wanted to broaden her horizons a little. After following Manager Zhao to the luxurious private dining room and seeing the grand setup in front of her, Tao Tian was immediately stunned. Once most of the guests had arrived, Wan Tao, the vice chairman of the Zhujiang Business Association, warmly invited everyone to take their seats. The tea shop owner was there too. The moment she saw Zhou Yuan, she started praising him non-stop and even told President Wan, "It was this young Mr. Zhou who helped me close a big deal." The exhibition had turned out so smoothly this time, and Zhou Yuan had definitely contributed a lot, so President Wan personally took the lead in thanking him. Faced with a setting like this, Zhou Yuan handled himself with ease and showed exactly the humility and manners expected of a younger man. After several rounds of drinks, a few managers picked up their glasses and headed toward Tao Tian, clearly intending to drink with her. But Zhou Yuan stepped forward immediately and stood in front of her. Smiling, he said, "President Liu, President Wang, my senior doesn't have much tolerance. Let me drink this one on her behalf." Since there was a person of status, the two men were unhappy but could not really say much more. By the time the dinner ended, Zhou Yuan had drunk a little too much, so Tao Tian helped him out and prepared to get a taxi with him. At that point, Zhou Yuan was still fairly clear-headed, though his legs were a little unsteady. Tao Tian had not touched a drop of alcohol, and she quietly said, "My tolerance is actually fine, so you don't need to block drinks for me on purpose." Zhou Yuan replied, "Once you drink the first glass, other people will immediately come over with a second. After that, there would be a third and a fourth a man." Zhou Yuan understood those people too well. What they really wanted was to watch a pretty girl get drunk and embarrass herself. Seeing Zhou Yuan protect her as if she were a child, Tao Tian pouted on the surface, but inside she was already overjoyed. To thank Zhou Yuan for drinking on her behalf, Tao Tian leaned close and said, "I want to treat you to clams." Looking at that bright, tempting view in front of him, Zhou Yuan simply could not bring himself to refuse, so in the end he agreed. During the ride, Zhou Yuan kept talking about work the whole time, and Tao Tian could not help complaining. "Can't we talk about something else?" Zhou Yuan casually answered, "If we're not talking about work, then what? Love?" Before long, the two arrived at the food street, and Tao Tian directly led Zhou Yuan to the clam shop she often visited. Meanwhile, Zhang Yinyan, who had been in a cold war with Lu Lin for 3 days, also happened to be at the food street that night. Deep down, she had been missing Zhou Yuan the whole time. Just then, she suddenly heard a familiar voice. When she turned her head, she froze on the spot. Wasn't that her boyfriend Zhou Yuan? And standing so close beside him was Tao Tian, the two of them looking far too intimate. In that instant, a powerful sense of crisis completely enveloped Zhang Yinyan.